Chapter 18. The blessing of the Enlightenment card had strengthened Chu Kuangren's state of enlightenment to an incredible level. Comprehending supreme techniques was as easy as eating and drinking. This scene frightened Honorable Shen Qi and the others. This is a bit scary. Indeed, what happened? Honorable Shen Qi and the others looked at each other, not knowing what had happened. However, the state of enlightenment was something that could only be encountered by chance. It was a mysterious state. Even if some strange things happened, it was not incomprehensible, so they did not think too much about it. At this time, Chu Kuangren had arrived at the 5th floor of the library. The 5th floor was the highest floor of the library and also the heritage of the Black Heaven sect. It recorded more than a dozen top cultivation techniques. Each of them was the top supreme technique. They were only slightly inferior to the 3 sage techniques. Unlike the 4th floor, the more than a dozen supreme techniques on the 5th floor were all recorded on stone tablets. Some were palm prints, some were sword marks, and some were mysterious characters. Each stone tablet revealed a Taoist rhyme, as if it was explaining the truth of Tao. If it was not a cultivator with a high cultivation base or extraordinary talent, it would be impossible to comprehend anything from these stone tablets. However, when Chu Kuangren glanced over, countless mysteries reverberated in his mind and were absorbed by him one by one. Even if it was not related to Sword Tao, he could quickly comprehend and master it. The state of enlightenment coupled with the enlightenment card was too terrifying. There were 17 top supreme techniques on the 5th floor, 5 of which were related to Sword Tao, and each of them was unfathomable. Chu Kuangren walked to one of the stone tablets, which recorded a supreme technique called the Dragon Tiger Sword Art. It was extremely profound. Even top sky prides like Nangong Huang and Murong Xian would need at least a few months to comprehend it. However, Chu Kuangren completely mastered it after looking at it for a while. He set his eyes on another stone tablet. In just a short while, Chu Kuangren had completely mastered the few Sword Tao techniques on the 5th floor. At that moment, the sword-based Taoist rhyme that emanated from his body was incredibly dense. From afar, he looked like a sword immortal who had attained the Tao. No matter if it's a high-grade profound technique or an exalted technique, I've already grasped all the Sword Tao techniques in the library pavilion. But why do I have a feeling of emptiness in my heart? Which Sword Tao technique should I use? Chu Kuangren sat cross-legged on the ground with a hint of confusion in his eyes. The various Sword Tao techniques that he had mastered in the library pavilion kept appearing in his mind. There were wondrous techniques, supreme techniques. The sword-based Taoist rhyme on his body was also changing. Boom! A terrifying sword ray suddenly erupted from Chu Kuangren's body. Within the sword light, there was a large green dragon bearing its fangs and brandishing its claws. The countless disciples outside the library couldn't help but exclaim when they saw this. This is the supreme technique, heaven-defying Azure Dragon Sword Art. Why did the chief suddenly use the sword art? No, that's not right. This is not performed by the chief, but the Taoist rhyme on his body naturally manifested. What is he going to do? When the crowd exclaimed, the sword-based Taoist rhyme on Chu Kuangren's body changed again. Within the sword light, a golden sun suddenly rose. The sun appeared, and the surrounding air became extremely hot. This is the supreme technique, Heavenly Sun Sword Art. Taoist Murong Xian's pupils shrank slightly. He also cultivated the Heavenly Sun Sword Art, so he was very familiar with this technique. There was another bang. Countless sword qi condensed in the sky and turned into a silver-white waterfall. Supreme technique, Heavenly Waterfall Sword Art. Nangong Huang, who also cultivated the Heavenly Waterfall Sword Art, was also surprised. But it was not over yet. As the sword-based Taoist rhyme on Chu Kuangren's body continued to evolve, the profound essence of various Sword Tao techniques appeared in the sky above the library pavilion. The green dragon soared into the sky, the waterfall hung high, the sun crossed the sky, and the sword qi condensed into a mountain. A dragon and a tiger flew out and fought in the air. Suddenly, there was a storm that swept through the sky, and there was also sword qi that was like a downpour. Supreme technique, Dragon Tiger Sword Art. Top-tier technique, 13 swords of *****. Supreme technique, Mountain suppressing sword. This is the supreme technique. River flowing into the sea. Oh my God. There are so many sword Dao techniques, and each of them has reached perfection, and the mystery within them is vividly displayed. Looking at the various visions that appeared in the sky above the library pavilion, countless disciples exclaimed one after another, their faces full of shock. Even the higher-ups, such as Honorable Xian Qi, were dumbfounded. He has mastered all the sword Dao techniques in the library pavilion. The chief is evolving thousands of sword Dao techniques with his own strength. This kind of behavior is like a saint preaching. It's too amazing. All disciples watch carefully and comprehend the mystery within. Honorable Xian Qi suddenly said to the disciples behind him. Some of the disciples had already regained their senses and focused on the mystery of the various sword Dao techniques. Gradually, they were actually intoxicated. Some disciples verified what they had learned from it, striving for perfection. Some disciples were suddenly enlightened and ecstatic. There were also some slow-witted people who seemed to have grasped something, but it was always a flash. They were so anxious that they scratched their ears and cheeks, hammered their hands and stamped their feet. Honorable Xian Qi stared at the manager in the library pavilion with a solemn gaze. Evolving thousands of sword Dao is like a saint preaching, but Kuangren's cultivation base is still shallow. How did he do it? What is he doing? Chu Kuangren was only in the Golden Core realm, and he was worlds apart from a saint, but he had done something that only a saint could do. This kind of thing was like a fantasy story, incredible. Chu Kuangren, who was in the library pavilion, was unaware of what was happening outside. He still sat cross-legged, and the various sword Dao techniques that he had mastered before continued to appear in his mind, allowing the Taoist rhymes around him to evolve. Gradually, a kind of enlightenment suddenly came to his mind. The sword is a murderous weapon. Sword Dao should be the way of attack. There are thousands of sword Dao techniques in the world. No matter how mysterious they are, in the end, they are just drawing the sword and killing the enemy. No matter how gorgeous the process is, no matter how extravagant, they are all born to attack. Chu Kuangren's eyes became clearer and clearer. At this moment, the countless sword Dao techniques that he had mastered in his mind were like silk being reeled from cocoons, and their essence was gradually exposed in front of his eyes, shedding the gorgeous outer shell, leaving only the purest defensive moves. These moves were constantly evolving in his mind. In the end, there was only one move left. This move was extremely simple. It was so simple that it could not even be called a move, because this move was just drawing the sword and sheathing the sword. At this time, in the outside world, in the sky above the library pavilion, the visions that had evolved from all kinds of sword Dao techniques suddenly disappeared. Countless disciples came back to their senses, but they still wanted to continue. Why did it disappear? I'm so close to advancing to the next realm. No, look! The visions disappeared, but a large amount of Taoist rhymes still lingered in the sky above the library pavilion for a long time. These Taoist rhymes suddenly rolled like clouds, and then condensed into a huge, white-robed figure holding a long sword. This figure looked exactly like Chu Kuangren. They saw the figure suddenly draw his sword. It was just a simple horizontal slash. Even an ordinary person who had never practiced swordsmanship could pick up a withered branch and do it well. However, from this slash, countless disciples saw the purest attack intent of the sword Dao. They saw the most amazing sword Dao in the world. Chapter 19. The gigantic figure slashed out with his sword, and the purest attack intent erupted with a loud rumble. A terrifying sword intent enveloped a radius of 100 miles. Countless disciples felt this sword intent, and even Taoists felt their hearts palpitate. Honorable Xian Qi exclaimed on the spot, "Sage ruler technique!" The rest of the higher-ups were also shocked. Then, the Taoist rhymes circulated in the void, and waves of mysterious sounds reverberated in the sky like the sounds of nature. A large amount of earth qi gushed out, forming numerous blooming golden lotuses. This is the sound of the great Tao, Earth Golden Lotus. This kind of phenomenon will only appear when a cultivator breaks through to the sage realm or when something related to the divine Tao happens. Saint Ruler Technique? Did the chief create a Saint Ruler Technique? This kind of peerlessly terrifying sword will and Taoist rhymes, ordinary sage techniques would definitely not be able to achieve this. This is definitely a sage ruler technique. As soon as the 3 words sage ruler technique came out, everyone was shocked. After all, when the last emperor of the ancient era had fallen, the firmament star had entered the near ancient era, also known as the fallen emperor era. Since ancient times, there had been no emperors, and sage rulers were the pinnacle existences. There were only a few sage rulers in the entire firmament star. Naturally, he did not have many sage ruler techniques. Even a sage orthodoxy like the Black Heaven sect did not have a sage ruler technique. However, right before their eyes, Chu Kuangren had forcefully created a sage ruler technique that could crush all techniques in this world. From ancient times until now, even with the supreme Taoist physique, I've never heard of anyone creating a sage ruler technique in the golden elixir realm. This is too terrifying. Honorable Shen Qi looked at Chu Kuangren in the library in horror. He thought he had already overestimated Chu Kuangren as much as he could, but Chu Kuangren had used his actions time and time again to prove that he was still underestimating him. If he doesn't fall, the throne of this world will belong to the Black Heaven sect. Honorable Shen Qi said with a fanatical gaze. He was sure that in the current firmament star, there was absolutely no sky pride who could create a sage ruler technique in the golden core realm, but Chu Kuangren could. Based on that alone, Chu Kuangren had far surpassed the other sky prides. Master, please get me a Tao loading tablet. Chu Kuangren suddenly spoke. Honorable Shen Qi seemed to have thought of something. His eyes lit up and he quickly ordered someone to fetch a Tao loading tablet. The Tao-bearing steels were made from special stone materials and could record down the rhythm of the Tao for a long time. Some techniques were incomparably profound and difficult to use words or ordinary characters to record. Thus, the rhythm of the Tao was inserted into the steels. For example, the supreme techniques on the 5th floor of the library were recorded in this way for the mysterious heaven sect to comprehend. Soon, a black Tao steel was transported to the front of the library. Seeing this, Chu Kuangren summoned the Descendant Self-Sword within his body. Holding the Descendant Self-Sword in his hand, Chu Kuangren closed his eyes slightly and stood there silently for a while. Then, he lifted the Descendant Self-Sword and slashed it towards the stone tablet. A sword light flashed and landed on the stone tablet. A sword mark that was more than a foot deep appeared on the seemingly ordinary stone tablet. An incomparably terrifying Taoist rhyme surged out of the sword mark and enveloped the entire stone tablet in the blink of an eye. He has injected the Tao runes of the Saint King Law into the Tao-containing steel. In the future, everyone can use the Tao-containing steel to comprehend the Saint King Law. Elder Ruyan's beautiful eyes were filled with splendor. The others also looked at Chu Kuangren with excitement. Chu Kuangren's move was too significant for the entire Black Heaven sect. This meant that the Black Heaven sect would have its own Saint King Law in the future. Anyone could comprehend the Saint King Law from it. The Black Heaven sect, which had mastered the Saint King Law, would have a higher foundation and strength. Leader is righteous, an elder said loudly. At this moment, the rest of the disciples completely acknowledged Chu Kuangren. They also admired him from the bottom of their hearts and no longer had any objections. Elder Senior Brother is righteous. Elder Senior Brother is righteous. All the disciples shouted in unison, and the sound waves shook the sky. After doing all this, Chu Kuangren gradually came out of the state of Tao enlightenment, and the effect of the Tao understanding card had also disappeared. However, the Saint King Law that he created in the state of Tao enlightenment through the thousands of sword Tao techniques in the library was imprinted in his mind. All kinds of visions disappeared one by one. After returning to calmness, Chu Kuangren walked out of the library and came to the front of Honorable Shen Qi and the others. He bowed slightly and said, "Greetings, Honorable Master Elder. Kuangren, you're welcome. Not only have you benefited a lot from this enlightenment, but you've also made a great contribution to the Black Heaven sect." Honorable Shen Qi was very excited and looked at Chu Kuangren admiringly. "A little," Chu Kuangren said modestly. Hearing his words, everyone could not help but roll their eyes. The Saint King Law had been created, and it was only a little? Honorable Xian Qi said, "By the way, Kuangren, you've just created this Saint King Law? Have you thought about what to name it?" "Not yet. It's better to ask Honorable Master to give it a name." Chu Kuangren thought about it and said, naming a Saint King Law was a special honor. The other honorables did not have this treatment because they could not create a Saint King Law. And how could a big shot who could create a Saint King Law let others name their method? Only Chu Kuangren, a freak who could create a Saint King Law in the Golden Core realm, would give such an honor to others. Letting Honorable Xian Qi name his Saint King Law was a matter of a few words to Chu Kuangren. He did not mind using this to improve the relationship between master and disciple. Sure enough, when Honorable Xian Qi heard this, his eyes lit up and his face flushed with excitement. However, when he thought that he was in front of his disciple, he had to maintain the dignity of an honorable master, so he suppressed his emotions. He said with a serious face, "This Saint King Law looks simple. It only has the move of drawing and sheathing the sword, but it returns to its natural state and brings out the fast, accurate, and ruthless attack intent of swordsmanship to the fullest. In my opinion, why don't we call it Heaven-Slaying Sword Drawing Technique?" Chu Kuangren heard this and nodded slightly, saying, "Then according to Honorable Master, this Saint King Law shall be named Heaven-Slaying Sword Drawing Technique." As soon as his words fell, the sky suddenly roared, as if recognizing this name. Not far away, the stone tablet shook, and there were stone chips falling from it. The words Heaven-Slaying Sword Drawing Technique appeared. Great Tao recognition. From now on, this technique will be called Heaven-Slaying Sword Drawing Technique. Haha! With this Heaven-Slaying Sword Drawing Technique, the foundation of my Black Heaven sect will rise to another level. In time, we will definitely be able to dominate the Azure Dragon domain. Then, Honorable Xian Qi ordered people to place the stone tablet that recorded the Heaven-Slaying Sword Drawing Technique on the 5th floor of the library and strictly guard it. Chu Kuangren also left the library and returned to the towering Heaven Palace. In the Taoist Palace, Lil Bing had long heard about Chu Kuangren creating a sage ruler technique in the library and praised him. And in the entire Black Heaven sect, from the high-level elders to the low-level outer sect disciples, everyone was talking about Chu Kuangren. "Did you hear Elder Senior Brother created a sage ruler technique in the library? The sound of the great Tao, the golden lotus on the ground. It's amazing. I was there. It was too awesome. Elder Senior Brother is really a god. He has only been our Elder Senior Brother for a short time, but he actually created a sage ruler technique. Unbelievable, in my opinion, in terms of talent. No one in the younger generation of the entire Azure Dragon domain, no, the entire Firmament Star can compare. It's not just talent, in terms of appearance, no one in the entire Firmament Star can compare. That face is simply on the top of my heart. It's too beautiful." Chapter 20. Towering Heaven Palace. In the courtyard, Chu Kuangren was lying on a recliner. Next to him, Lil Bing was holding a plate of grapes and feeding them to Chu Kuangren from time to time. Beside him, Lan Yu was wearing a blue and white dress, sitting cross-legged with a black guqin in front of her. Lan Yu plucked the strings with her fingers and a beautiful melody slowly echoed. "Ah!" Chu Kuangren opened his mouth and took a grape fed by Lil Bing. Listening to Lan Yu's music, he squinted his eyes and looked satisfied. Lil Bing was peeling grapes next to him. Looking at Chu Kuangren's face up close, she blushed and felt indescribable joy. The outside world flocked to Chu Kuangren and countless women wanted to see him, but she could personally feed him grapes. Just thinking about it made her extremely happy. It was just one song. Lan Yu smiled faintly. What else does Master want to hear? In addition to being a powerful warrior, she was also proficient in music. This was something Chu Kuangren had only recently discovered. He had to admit that Lan Yu was really good. She was beautiful, powerful, and obedient to Chu Kuangren. No need. If I continue to fall like this, I really won't be able to climb out of this gentle place. Chu Kuangren shook his head and smiled. He stretched lazily. I'm going to cultivate. It had been nearly a month since he created the Sage Ruler technique. His cultivation had made great progress in this month, from the initial Golden Core to the complete Golden Core, only one step away from the nascent soul stage. In this month, Chu Kuangren had drawn many things from the fantasy roulette, but most of them were black iron and silver grade. Except for a few, the rest were useless to him. For example, some pills, skills, spiritual marrow, and so on. All of these were used to nurture Lil Bing. Therefore, in this 1 month, Lil Bing's cultivation base improved by leaps and bounds. Besides him, Lil Bing also improved a lot. In the afternoon, Chu Kuangren had just finished cultivating. Lil Bing told him that Taoists Nangong Huang and Murong Xian were visiting Taoist Palace in the main hall. "Elder senior brother, you're finally here." After seeing Chu Kuangren, Murong Xian greeted him excitedly. Chu Kuangren's expression changed slightly and he took half a step back. Why was he so excited? Those who did not know would think that he had seen his long-lost girlfriend. With his damned beauty, even a man couldn't control himself? Murong Xian stood awkwardly on the spot. "Eldest senior brother, are you serious about taking half a step back? Such a small action could cause so much damage." "Greetings, eldest senior brother." Nangong Huang bowed slightly. Ever since he was beaten into submission by Chu Kuangren and saw him create his own sage ruler technique, his admiration for Chu Kuangren had grown. Just like the others in the Shen Tian sect, he was a little fanboy. "Junior brothers, there's no need to stand on ceremony. Have a seat." After the two of them sat down, Murong Xian took the initiative to speak. "I've come to look for eldest senior brother because there's something I'd like to ask for your opinion on." "Oh, what is it?" "Eldest senior brother, have you heard of Guchanga?" "Guchanga?" Chu Kuangren murmured. He seemed to have some recollection of that name. He then asked, "Crown Prince of Azure Dynasty? Guchanga?" "That's right, it's him," Nangong Huang said solemnly. In this world of great competition, geniuses from all walks of life emerged one after another like 100 flowers blooming, and they vied for beauty. And Guchanga was one of the most magnificent flowers in this cluster of flowers. She was a famous heavenly son of heaven. In fact, she was even better than Nangong Huang. The force behind the Crown Prince, the Royal Azure Dynasty, was also the top sage orthodoxy in the Azure Dragon domain, no weaker than the Black Heaven sect. What's wrong with this person? Chu Kuangren thought about the information about Guchanga and asked. Guchanga left the capital city of the Royal Azure Dynasty half a month ago. In the name of an exchange, he passed by Jiang Valley, the Dharma sect, the Void Spirit sect, and the Five Ways sect. He defeated 8 Taoists in a row. Murong Xian said slowly. There was a hint of seriousness in his tone. Hearing this, how could Chu Kuangren not know why the two of them came to look for him? "Are you afraid that he'll come to challenge the Black Heaven sect?" "He'll definitely challenge them," Nangong Huang said. "He's building an invincible heart." "That's right." Nangong Huang continued. "A few years ago, the divine predictor said that the Emperor's path has been reopened, and all the sky prides in the firmament star want to fight for the throne. Guchanga defeated all the Taoists in a row and used this method to build an invincible heart. He wants to take a step forward on the Emperor's path. The only way to stop this process is to defeat him. Otherwise, when his invincible heart is completed, I'm afraid that no one will be able to compete with him. But it's not easy to defeat him. This person's combat strength is unparalleled among the younger generation, and there are few who can match him. It's not easy for the older generation to attack him. Rumor has it that Guchanga has an honorable realm protector by his side. Even if someone wants to attack him secretly, it's impossible." Both Nangong Huang and Murong Xian took turns to tell Chu Kuangren about what happened while Chu Kuangren listened from the side. "Elder senior brother, Guchanga's strength is amazing. He defeated 8 Taoists in a row, and many of them are at the same level as me. So I think in the entire Black Heaven sect, only you can defeat this person." Nangong Huang looked at Chu Kuangren with bright eyes. "What's this person's cultivation level?" "Complete nascent soul. No, it should be half-step paradise realm," Nangong Huang said after a pause. "What? Half-step paradise realm?" Chu Kuangren inevitably felt a little nervous. He was now only in the Golden Core realm and had not even reached the nascent soul realm. He was able to suppress Nangong Huang last time because of the cultivation experience card. Now he had to fight a half-step paradise realm with his golden core realm? Moreover, this person was a peerless sky pride. According to the law of sky prides, this person was probably even stronger than paradise realm. No matter how he thought about it, it was hard to believe. However, facing the hopeful eyes of Nangong Huang and Murong Xian, as the elder senior brother, he could not show fear. I understand. Chu Kuangren's eyes were calm and his tone was indifferent. Nangong Huang and Murong Xian looked at each other and were immediately reassured. Their elder senior brother was so calm, it should be in the bag. The two left the Taoist palace with peace of mind. Nangong, what do you think elder senior brother will win against Guchanga? Outside the Taoist palace, Murong Xian asked curiously. Nangong Huang stopped in his tracks and said lightly, 10%. You have so much confidence in elder senior brother. Murong Xian was a little stunned. Although he also believed in Chu Kuangren, Guchanga was not a simple person. He had defeated 8 great Taoists in a row and was already invincible among his peers. He did not dare to say that Chu Kuangren had a 100% chance of winning. Elder senior brother can suppress me with a wave of his hand. His combat strength is unfathomable, and can't you see elder senior brother's attitude just now? He obviously doesn't take Guchanga seriously. Nangong Huang said to Chu Kuangren with admiration. Murong Xian heard this, and the more he thought about it, the more he felt that it made sense. He nodded and said, You're right. If he wasn't so sure of winning, how could he be so calm? I'm afraid elder senior brother is already invincible among his peers. I don't think so. Elder senior brother can create his own sage ruler technique. How many people in this world can do that? It's too terrifying. Chapter 21. How is it? Did the Taoists say anything? Junyi Zhuohan and the other Taoists knew that Murong Xian and Nangong Huang went to the Towering Heaven Palace to ask Chu Kuangren how he would deal with Guchanga. After learning that the two had returned, they immediately came to ask. Elder senior brother said that Guchanga is nothing to be afraid of. Junyi and the others were shocked when they heard this. After all, Guchanga had defeated 4 sage orthodoxies and 8 Taoists in a row. In the hearts of many of his peers, he was already invincible. However, in Chu Kuangren's words, he was nothing to be afraid of. This caused everyone to be shocked. Zhuohan then laughed. As expected of our elder senior brother, Guchanga defeated 8 Taoists in a row and shocked the Azure Dragon domain with his invincible posture. But in our elder senior brother's eyes, he is nothing to be afraid of. Domineering. Yes, elder senior brother is really powerful. Gradually, the words Guchanga is nothing to be afraid of spread in the Black Heaven sect, and countless disciples knew that it was Chu Kuangren who said it. After all, the story of Guchanga defeating 8 Taoists in a row to create an invincible heart had long been spread. Many disciples knew that he would come to the Black Heaven sect sooner or later, so they inevitably felt nervous. But now, Chu Kuangren's words had encouraged everyone. Elder senior brother is really powerful. Guchanga is nothing to be afraid of. Only someone like elder senior brother can say that. That Guchanga defeated the Taoists of 4 sage orthodoxies in a row. But in front of our elder senior brother, he is nothing to be afraid of. Awesome. I want to see how elder senior brother defeats Guchanga. Elder senior brother is so domineering. I love it. All kinds of discussions appeared throughout the Black Heaven sect. It even reached the ears of some high-level elders, only to hear Elder Ruyan say, As expected of our Black Heaven sect's lead disciple, he is full of spirit. Honorable Shen Qi said proudly. My disciple Kuangren has the bearing of a great emperor. Guchanga is nothing to be afraid of. If it was before, they might not believe Chu Kuangren so much. But now it was different. Ever since Chu Kuangren created his own sage ruler technique in the library, not only was he like a god in the eyes of many disciples, but he was also labeled as invincible among his peers in the eyes of the elders. He had the potential of a great emperor. Everyone would believe his words a little first. Young master, in addition to the disciples, the head and the elders are all very supportive of you. You must try your best to defeat Guchanga. Lil Bing waved her little fist and cheered for Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren, on the other hand, was dumbfounded after hearing what the other party had to say. Guchanga was not to be feared? When did he say something like that? Morong Xian and Nangong Huang, what are you imagining? Also, it was one thing for the disciples to be fooling around, but why were the masters and elders joining in as well? They even said that he was full of vigor and that he had the bearing of a great emperor. When he heard these words, he couldn't help but cover his face. Right now, he was only a golden core. Lil Bing, you go out first. Chu Kuangren waved his hand. He wanted to be alone. I see. Child, you want to conserve your energy and fight Guchanga in the best state, right? Don't worry. I won't let anyone disturb you. Lil Bing said with an understanding expression. Then, she walked out of the room and before closing the door, she clenched her fist and cheered for Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren sat on the bed and sighed helplessly. Why are they so imaginative? Why don't they write novels? He summoned the fantasy roulette and began the day's lottery. Congratulations, host. You have drawn a gold-grade item. A bottle of heaven's spiritual marrow. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. Another gold-grade item, and it's heaven's spiritual marrow. Looks like my luck is not bad today. Heaven's spiritual marrow was a liquid that contained pure spiritual qi. It was much more advanced than spiritual stones and was divided into 4 grades. Heaven, earth, black, and yellow. Heaven's spiritual marrow was the highest grade of spiritual marrow. It had various mysterious functions such as improving one's cultivation base, purifying one's spiritual power, and cleansing one's body. In the outside world, a drop of heaven's spiritual marrow was enough to cause a large number of cultivators to fight over it. But Chu Kuangren had a whole bottle in his hand. Extract the heaven's spiritual marrow, Chu Kuangren said. In an instant, a palm-sized green jade bottle appeared in Chu Kuangren's hand. It contained the golden heaven spiritual marrow. With the help of this heaven spiritual marrow, I can definitely break through to the nascent soul realm quickly. By then, I'll have the confidence to deal with Guchanga. Chu Kuangren murmured. Since he wanted to do it, he immediately went into closed-door meditation. Meanwhile, in the outside world, the entire Azure Dragon domain was shaken by the name of Guchanga. News of Guchanga leaving the capital city and defeating 4 sage orthodoxies and 8 Taoists consecutively spread across the world. Countless forces and cultivators were excited by the news. In the Azure Dragon domain, there were 8 sage orthodoxies. The Royal Azure Dynasty, Jiang Valley, Dharma Sect, Taishu Temple, Lingshu Sect, 5 Ways Sect, Thunder Temple, School of White Lotus, and Black Heaven Sect. Apart from the Royal Azure Dynasty, the first 4 sage orthodoxies had already been challenged by Guchanga and were all defeated by him. Now, everyone's attention was on the last 3 sage orthodoxies. They wanted to see if there was anyone who could match Guchanga's invincible momentum. If there was no one, Guchanga would be ahead of everyone else in this lifetime's emperor's path. On top of the towering mountain, clouds and mist lingered. Among the clouds and mist, there were rows upon rows of buildings. Upon closer inspection, most of them were worshipping statues of Buddha. It was a temple. It was the largest temple in the world that no one dared to mess with. A sage orthodoxy, Thunder Temple. On this day, a deep bell chime reverberated throughout the Thunder Temple. Outside the temple gate, 6 divine steeds covered in golden scales pulled a dazzling golden carriage and flew over, then stopped in front of the temple. The curtain of the carriage opened and a man in a golden robe with sharp eyebrows and bright eyes walked out. He stared straight at the gate of the Thunder Temple. This man was the most famous person in the world, Guchanga. Thunder Temple, I'm here, Guchanga murmured. His eyes were filled with an unparalleled battle intent. The spiritual energy in his body boiled and surrounded him. There was a faint sound of a dragon's roar. After I defeat the remaining Taoists of the Thunder Temple, School of White Lotus, and Black Heaven Sect, I shall forge an invincible heart. On the Emperor's path, I shall be 1 step ahead of everyone else. Guchanga's eyes sparkled. Crown Prince, don't be careless. An old voice came from the void, as if reminding Guchanga, there are many hidden talents in the sage orthodoxy. Moreover, there was a supreme Taoist manifestation in the Black Heaven sect a few days ago. That's something to be concerned about. The supreme Taoist physique. I did sense it a few days ago. After I defeat the Thunder Temple and School of White Lotus, I shall go to the Black Heaven sect and personally experience the so-called supreme Taoist physique. Gu Chang'e said solemnly. After that, he looked straight at the Thunder Temple and shouted, "I'm here to pay a visit. I invite all the eminent monks to show themselves." The sound waves rolled. A battle was inevitable. The next day, the 6 divine chariots pulled the golden carriage and left the Thunder Temple. The news that 2 of the Thunder Temple's Taoists had been defeated by Gu Chang'e had also spread. In less than 3 days, the School of White Lotus Bachelor Sage had also been defeated by Gu Chang'e. In an instant, Gu Chang'e's reputation reached its peak. Out of the 8 sage orthodoxies, 6 of them had lost their Taoist and Bachelor Sage to the Crown Prince of the Royal Azure Dynasty. This meant that these orthodoxies had lost to the Royal Azure Dynasty. Chapter 22. Invincible. Gu Chang'e is going against the natural order. Yeah, the Taoists of the 8 major sage orthodoxies all lost to the same person. From a certain perspective, these orthodoxies are no match for the Royal Azure Dynasty. I bet the leaders of those orthodoxies are fuming right now. Gu Chang'e is so powerful. Only the Black Heaven sect is left now. The Taoists of the other 6 orthodoxies have all lost. I guess the Black Heaven sect won't be able to stop Gu Chang'e. Gu Chang'e should be the leader of the younger generation. Countless cultivators in the Azure Dragon domain were shocked by Gu Chang'e. They didn't expect Gu Chang'e to be so powerful. Sage orthodoxies were the top cultivation forces in the entire firmament star, not to mention the Azure Dragon domain. The Taoists that these orthodoxies nurtured were naturally the best sky prides in the entire firmament star. Yet today, these heaven's favorites were all defeated by one person. Gu Chang'e was like the sun at high noon. His invincible momentum shook the world. Black Heaven sect. Nangong Huang and the other Taoists gathered together. They were talking about Gu Chang'e. Even they were shocked after hearing about Gu Chang'e's strength. When do you guys think eldest senior brother will come out of seclusion? Murong Xian said with a worried look on his face. Ever since they visited Chu Kuangren the last time, he had gone into closed-door meditation. There had been no news of him since then. According to Gu Chang'e's speed, he'll probably arrive at Shen Tian sect today. What if eldest senior brother hasn't come out by the time he arrives? Shuahan said worriedly. Gu Chang'e was now in the limelight. In his opinion, only Chu Kuangren could compete with her in the Black Heaven sect. If Gu Chang'e arrived while Chu Kuangren was still in closed-door meditation, none of them would be able to stop her. If eldest senior brother hasn't come out of seclusion by then, I'll personally meet Gu Chang'e, Nangong Huang said. That works too. We can test this person's strength on behalf of eldest senior brother, so that eldest senior brother will be more confident. Just as they were discussing, above the Black Heaven sect, the clouds rolled and a golden light bloomed, dyeing the clouds golden. The golden clouds billowed to both sides as a carriage pulled by 6 divine chariots flew across the sky and landed in front of the Black Heaven sect's mountain gate. The sudden commotion attracted a lot of people. Look! Someone's coming. This horse is covered in golden scales. This is the golden scaled colt that only the nobles of the Royal Azure Dynasty have. The one who could ride 6 horses was Gu Chang'e. Crown Prince Gu Chang'e is here. He's finally here. He really did come to our Black Heaven sect. Many disciples in the Black Heaven sect exclaimed. The few Taoists who had gathered together also looked in the direction of the mountain gate with solemn eyes. Nangong Huang said lightly, "Let's go and meet this person." Outside the Black Heaven sect's mountain gate, Gu Chang'e slowly gets off the carriage. Many disciples were on high alert and ready for battle. Gu Chang'e glanced at these people. Instantly, a terrifying aura enveloped them, causing them to retreat in fear. How terrifying! Just being looked at by him makes my hair stand on end. Is this Gu Chang'e? Along the way, Gu Chang'e had consecutively defeated 6 holy lands, and her invincible momentum had accumulated to an incomparably powerful level. How could an ordinary disciple withstand his aura? Just a single glance was enough to intimidate everyone. I have come to pay a visit. Seniors, please show yourselves, Wuxia said loudly. His voice rolled and echoed throughout the entire Black Heaven sect. I already know why you're here. Cut the nonsense. If you want to fight, then let's fight. At this moment, Honorable Xian Qi's voice rang out. There was no need for pleasantries or nonsense. The other party was obviously here to pick a fight. Was he supposed to treat him well? That would be for the best. I heard that there's a supreme Taoist physique in the Black Heaven sect. Does he want to fight me? Wuxia said. Buzz. At this moment, an ancient long sword wrapped in a cold sword ray suddenly burst out and stabbed right in front of Wuxia. A powerful sword will suddenly burst out. Oh, a sage weapon. Wuxia was not surprised. After all, as a sage orthodoxy with a long history, it was normal for them to have a few sage weapons. What he was more concerned about was the person who wielded the sage weapon. He looked up and saw Nangong Huang, who was dressed in a purple robe, slowly walking over and said to him, Elder senior brother is in seclusion. If you want to fight him, you'll have to get past me first. The sword intent on Nangong Huang's body flowed and his spiritual power erupted. The power of a perfected nascent soul unscrupulously slapped the void. His eyes flashed with black and white light, and his aura was extremely shocking. A sky pride had the pride of a sky pride. Nangong Huang possessed the yin-yang god eyes and was a top-notch sky pride. Naturally, he had his own pride. Although he knew that he was probably no match for Wuxia, he still wanted to fight and see who was stronger. Nangong Huang, I've heard of you. You're the strongest among the 9 Taoists of the Black Heaven sect. I didn't expect you to recognize that supreme Taoist physique as your elder senior brother. This makes me even more curious about this person. Fine, I'll defeat you first. Wuxia's aura completely erupted. An incomparably domineering aura swept out in all directions. Majestic spiritual power surrounded his body and gradually formed a golden dragon. The violent roar of the dragon turned into a terrifying sound wave that spread out. The surrounding disciples could not help but take a few steps back. What a domineering spiritual power! That's the crown prince of the Royal Azure Dynasty. Rumor has it that there's a sage technique in the Royal Azure Dynasty called the True Dragon Spirit Condensation. It allows one to cultivate an incomparably domineering dragon chi. This Wuxia must be cultivating this sage technique. The golden dragon hovered around Wuxia. Its lifelike dragon eyes turned, revealing a sense of disdain for the common people. Nangong Huang also felt Wuxia's powerful aura. He placed his hand on the sacred sword, and spiritual power surged as he took the initiative to strike. Sword rays poured out like a waterfall. Supreme technique, waterfall sword technique. Wuxia did not dodge. He raised his hand and threw a punch. Golden dragon chi gushed out, filled with boundless domineering aura. There was a loud explosion. The collision between the sword rays and the dragon chi produced a huge impact. Nangong Huang could not help but retreat a few feet under the impact. On the other hand, Wuxia stood in the same place, unmoving. Nangong Huang was already at a disadvantage in the first move. Again, Nangong Huang's body bloomed with golden light, covering the sacred sword, deep abyss rainbow. He struck again. With the support of the mixed golden light and the sacred sword, the power of this sword ray was far greater than before. This time, Wuxia's face showed a hint of seriousness. Only you are qualified to make me use this punch. Dragon Slaughter Fist, break. As the punch was thrown, the domineering dragon roar echoed throughout the world. The fist energy turned into a golden dragon and a terrifying Taoist rhyme surrounded it. This time, the sword ray was once again destroyed by the fist energy. When Nangong Huang was knocked back again, black and white divine light flowed out of his eyes. It was the power of the yin-yang god eyes. Haha, I knew it. Dragon Slaughter Fist. Wuxia struck with his right hand, and golden dragon scales appeared on his arm. This punch was even more powerful than before. After breaking the Yin-Yang God eyes, the remaining fist energy landed on Nangong Huang's body. Nangong Huang spat out a mouthful of blood. He was sent flying dozens of feet away and smashed into a wall. The wall suddenly caved in, and countless cracks spread like a spider web. All the Black Heaven sect disciples could not believe it. 3 punches. Chapter 23. Nangong Huang slid down from the wall with blood dripping from the corner of his mouth. He struggled to stand and looked at Guchanga's right hand. Before it was sent flying, he seemed to have seen golden dragon scales appear on Guchanga's right hand. Rumor has it that the true dragon condensation technique of the Royal Azure Dynasty can allow one to cultivate the dragon meridian physique. Your right hand has already cultivated the dragon meridian, Nangong Huang said solemnly. The dragon meridian physique was a top-notch physique, even better than his Yin-Yang God Eye. It was known as the physique closest to the supreme Taoist physique. Once it was mastered, even sages would have to retreat. Not bad, Guchanga said proudly. Although it's only my right hand, I can easily defeat a top-notch sky pride like you. To master the dragon meridian physique, he needed to cultivate all of his meridians into dragon meridians. However, he had only cultivated the meridians in his right hand. Even so, it was enough for him to look down on his peers. Senior brother Nangong was defeated in 3 punches. Where's elder senior brother? We can only let elder senior brother do it. Guchanga is so terrifying. The surrounding disciples discussed among themselves, unable to hide the shock in their hearts. Guchanga stood with his hands behind his back and looked down at the crowd. An unparalleled domineering aura spread out like an emperor. Who else dares to fight me alone? Guchanga looked down at the crowd, his invincible stance shocking everyone. In the distance, Honorable Shen Qi, Elder Ruyan, and the others watched the scene unfold. This kid is indeed extraordinary. Yes, he's already a half-step Paradise Realm cultivator at such a young age. With the help of the Dragon Meridian physique, it's no wonder he can defeat his peers. He's already invincible after defeating 6 sage orthodoxies in a row. If he continues to grow stronger, I'm afraid he can really forge the heart of invincibility. Even if Honorable Shen Qi and the others were unhappy with Guchanga's challenge, they had to admit that Guchanga was indeed extraordinary. Sect leader, is the lead disciple still in closed-door meditation? Elder Ruyan asked. Now they could only pin their hopes on Chu Kuangren. Yes, I just used my spiritual thought to scan the Taoist palace, but Kuangren is still in closed-door meditation, Honorable Shen Qi said helplessly. His gaze returned to the Black Heaven Sect's mountain gate. At this moment, Guchanga was looking down on the crowd. Seeing that no one was willing to accept the challenge, she continued, "Where is your supreme Taoist master? Why don't you call him out?" He paused for a moment, and a mocking expression appeared on his face. "Don't tell me you're so scared that you're hiding in your room, too afraid to come out. What insolence! How dare you slander eldest senior brother? Don't stop me. I'll fight it out with him." Murong Xian gritted his teeth in anger and was about to attack when a few Taoists beside him stopped him and advised him to calm down. "Don't get too excited. You're not his match. Even Nangong was defeated in 3 punches. It's useless for you to go up." While everyone was fuming, a white streak of light descended from the sky. Bang! A cloud of dust rose and a wave of qi rolled. Everyone looked over, only to see a silver-haired woman in gorgeous silver-white armor standing in the wind, sacred and inviolable. Miss Lan. The Taoists were slightly surprised. It was Lan Yu. She knew that Chu Kuangren would fight Guchanga once he came out of his closed-door meditation, so she came here to observe. Initially, she didn't intend to make a move. However, when she heard the other party mocking Chu Kuangren, she couldn't take it anymore. Guchanga could insult anyone, even the revered sages, but she would not allow anyone to slander Chu Kuangren, who was like a god in her heart. Not even a word of mockery. That was why she showed herself. Lan Yu appeared. Her silver-white armor was incomparably gorgeous, and she exuded a sacred and dignified aura. Even Guchanga's eyes lit up. As the crown prince of the royal Azure dynasty, he had seen countless beauties in his life, but none of them could compare to the woman in front of him. She had skin of ice and bones of jade, and she was sacred and cold, just like a goddess. For the first time, Guchanga felt a sense of admiration. "Who are you?" Guchanga tried to slow down his tone and asked curiously. In his mind, he was the crown prince of the royal Azure dynasty, and he had defeated the supreme sky prides of 6 sage orthodoxies. If he were to speak to someone in such a tone, that person should be flattered. However, Lan Yu's expression was cold. Her ocean blue eyes were filled with hostility, as if a storm was brewing. "Who I am isn't important. What's important is that you've just slandered my master, so you must pay the price," Lan Yu said coldly. Her spiritual power rumbled, and a sacred Taoist rhyme circulated. This Taoist rhyme made Guchanga's eyes turn serious. However, at the same time, jealousy burned in his heart. Follower? A woman like this is the follower of the Black Heaven sect's supreme Taoist physique? What did that person do to deserve such a woman? I thought the Black Heaven sect's supreme Taoist physique was amazing, but I didn't expect him to hide behind a woman's back. There's no future in following someone like him. Woman, I'll give you a chance. As long as you follow me, I'll grant you the highest honor. I'll even grant you the position of the crown prince's consort. Guchanga looked at Lan Yu with a glimmer of hope in his eyes. However, Lan Yu's expression turned even colder. "You slandered my master, and now you're dreaming. Your sins are unforgivable." Lan Yu did not say anything else. She raised her hand, clenched her fist, and punched. A white beam of light wrapped in a sacred aura burst out. The terrifying Taoist rhyme shocked everyone present. Guchanga did not dare to be careless. He channeled his spiritual power and punched. 2 fist energies and 2 types of Taoist rhymes exploded, and a powerful impact swept out. However, Lan Yu and Guchanga did not retreat. This surprised many people. Everyone present had witnessed how powerful Guchanga was. He defeated Nangong Huang with 3 punches, but Lan Yu was able to stand up to him. In the distance, Honorable Xian Qi and the others looked at each other. Who is this woman? She just said that she's the lead disciple's follower. Why does this Taoist rhyme seem like the legendary supreme Taoist physique, the sacred radiant physique? Honorable Xian Qi said in surprise. As soon as he said that, the crowd could not help but gasp. It was a supreme Taoist physique. If that's the case, then it's no wonder this woman can stand up to Guchanga. But, is she really a supreme Taoist physique? It was no wonder that the crowd was skeptical. Supreme Taoist physiques were too rare. It was a little unbelievable that 2 of them had appeared in the Black Heaven sect. Maybe not, but this woman is definitely not simple. We'll have to ask Kuangren when the time comes, Honorable Xian Qi said. The Black Heaven sect's disciples and higher-ups were all surprised by Lan Yu's strength. Guchanga was the same. Along the way, he had defeated all the Taoists of the major sage orthodoxies, and few could stand up to him. Not to mention, it was a woman. When he thought that this powerful, sacred, and beautiful woman was someone else's follower, Guchanga became even more jealous of Chu Kuangren, whom he had never met before. It's a pity that a woman as amazing as you is following a coward who only knows how to hide in his shell. Guchanga shook his head and said. Everyone seemed to smell a hint of jealousy in his tone. TSK, the dignified royal Azure Crown Prince can have any woman he wants. It's a pity that Lady Lan is not someone he can covet. That's right, Lady Lan is our elder senior brother's. Our elder senior brother's looks are more than 18 streets ahead of him. Chapter 24. How dare you slander my young master again and again? You deserve to die. She could not detect the jealousy in Guchanga's tone. All she knew was that Guchanga had slandered Chu Kuangren, and that made her furious. Her beautiful face was covered with a layer of frost. Suddenly, she spread her wings and unleashed her spiritual power to its peak. Her domineering aura filled the air. Everyone was even more surprised when they saw her wings. She's a winged human tribe, I didn't expect Miss Lan to be from the winged human tribe. Are all the ladies from the winged human tribe this beautiful? Lan Yu spread her wings. This was her strongest form. She flapped her wings and rose into the air. She looked coldly at Guchanga, who was on the ground like a high and mighty goddess of war. That stance was even more stunning. She channeled her spiritual power and a strong surge of Taoist rhyme poured out. White light flashed in her hand and formed a huge spear. Mysterious Taoist patterns flowed on the spear, emitting a terrifying aura. That spear made Guchanga's heart palpitate. Light of judgment. Lan Yu shouted coldly and was about to throw the spear. However, at that moment, in the distance, a colorful beam of light shot up into the sky. An extremely mysterious Taoist rhyme filled the area. That anomaly attracted everyone's attention, including Lan Yu, who was in the middle of a battle. Her expression changed slightly and she withdrew her spear. With a flap of her wings, Lan Yu turned into a stream of light and flew towards the beam of light. That was because that was the towering heaven palace. That was Chu Kuangren's residence. Chu Kuangren was more important than anything in her heart. Nangong Huang, Murong Xian, and the others immediately rushed over. Come, let's go and see what's going on, Guchanga said calmly to the void. Towering heaven palace. Compared to Lan Yu, Guchanga, Nangong Huang, and the others, the first to arrive were Honorable Shen Qi, Elder Ruyan, and the other higher-ups. They looked at the beam of light and exchanged glances. What's our lead disciple up to again? I don't know. Honorable Shen Qi and the others were a little helpless. Chu Kuangren would cause them a bunch of strange phenomena every few days. It was unbearable for them. What's going on? Lan Yu and the others rushed to the scene. At this moment, another change occurred. The surrounding spiritual qi surged crazily and gathered to form a Taoist foundation that looked like a pagoda in the void. There were 7 floors in total. This is the Tao foundation of the foundation building realm. Someone is building their foundation? Elder Ruyan asked doubtfully. That's not right. A foundation establishment cultivator wouldn't be able to cause such a huge commotion. Honorable Shen Qi shook his head. At this time, the Taoist foundation shook and 2 more layers rose from the 7th layer, turning into a 9-layer Taoist foundation. The 9-level Taoist foundation was surrounded by runes and mysterious Taoist rhymes. Everyone turned pale with fright. A 9th-level Tao foundation. This is the supreme Tao foundation. 9 is the ultimate number in this world. There are only a handful of cultivators in the entire firmament star who can form a 9-level Taoist foundation. I understand now. Honorable Shen Qi's eyes lit up. Madman is reshaping his cultivation base and rebuilding his foundation. After a breakthrough, one's foundation would remain the same. Rebuilding one's foundation would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Furthermore, if he was not careful, his foundation would be damaged, and the losses outweighed the gains. Once one's foundation is damaged, repairing it is several times more difficult than rebuilding it. Isn't this chief disciple being too bold? An elder said with a solemn expression. What courage! Elder Ruyan was full of admiration. As expected of my disciple. Honorable Shen Qi laughed and then consciously guarded Chu Kuangren. The rest of the upper echelons also began to be alert. Especially towards Guchanga. Their faces were full of vigilance. After all, he was the only outsider here. Moreover, he was an outsider who came to the Black Heaven sect to provoke them. Guchanga sensed the gazes from all around and could not help but snort coldly. I don't stoop to despicable acts of taking advantage of others. Then, he looked at the 9-level Taoist foundation and was slightly surprised. I didn't expect the elder senior brother of the Black Heaven sect to be so bold as to rebuild his foundation. Moreover, it's the strongest 9-level Taoist foundation. One must know. It was not to say that having a supreme Taoist physique was equivalent to forging a supreme Taoist foundation. At most, it was just a slightly higher probability. Even he himself only had a 7-level Taoist foundation. And this was already the most top-notch Taoist foundation. Many cultivators only had 1 or 2 levels of normal Taoist foundations. Before everyone could recover from their shock, Spiritual chi once again gathered above the towering heaven palace and condensed into a golden core. There were 7 Taoist patterns on the core. It was a 7-pattern golden core. A boundless Taoist rhyme erupted from the core. The 7-pattern golden core had transformed into a 9-pattern golden core. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. A 9-level Taoist foundation and a 9-pattern golden core. The lead disciple has rebuilt 2 great foundations in one go. My God, how did he do it? A 9-pattern golden core is even more difficult than a 9-level Taoist foundation. 2 great supreme foundations. If he ascends to the nascent soul realm, even if it's just a normal one-color nascent soul, his combat strength will far surpass those in the same realm. As expected of the elder senior brother, Murong Xian, Nangong Huang, and the others admired this person even more. However, Gu Chang's expression was a little unpleasant. I didn't expect him to be able to rebuild a 9-pattern golden core. There are not many in the entire firmament star who can do this. What is the elder senior brother of the Black Heaven sect's background? Gu Chang'e was extremely curious about Chu Kuangren. He was able to make Lan Yu follow him, build a supreme foundation, and even have a supreme Taoist physique. At that moment, a figure suddenly walked out of the colorful light pillar. It was a small person about a foot tall, wearing a white Taoist robe that was interwoven with Taoist patterns. He had red lips and white teeth, looking about 7 or 8 years old. Everyone felt that this small person was somewhat familiar. This wave is a nascent soul. That's our elder senior brother's nascent soul. How do you know? Nonsense, our elder senior brother is the only one who's in closed-door cultivation in the Taoist palace. Whose nascent soul could it be? That's right, and this child is so good-looking. If you look closely, you can see that his features are somewhat similar to our elder senior brother's. Our elder senior brother is so handsome. I can recognize him even if he turns into ashes, let alone a nascent soul. At that moment, the nascent soul that walked out of the light pillar suddenly bloomed with a variety of brilliant lights behind it. Red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, purple, black, and white. A total of 9 colors. This time, even Honorable Shen Qi was stunned. 9-colored nascent soul. F***ck me. One of the elders could not help but curse. 9-level Taoist foundation, 9-pattern golden core, and this 9-colored nascent soul. Chu Kuangren, in one breath, had molded 3 supreme foundation levels. Everyone was shocked. Gu Chang's face was so gloomy that it looked like it was about to drip water. His heart was also filled with shock and disbelief. The higher the realm, the harder it was to mold a supreme foundation level. Even the supreme foundation level of the foundation level was enough to leave countless cultivators in the dust. However, this elder senior brother of the Black Heaven sect was different. In one breath, he had molded 3 supreme foundation levels of the foundation level, golden core, and nascent soul levels in front of him. The foundation of each realm completely crushed hundreds of millions of cultivators in the world, and this included him. At that moment, the invincible heart that Gu Chang'e had molded along the way began to waver. Could he really compete with such a supreme sky pride? Steady your Taoist heart. An old voice rang in Gu Chang'e's ears. It was his Taoist protector. Gu Chang'e's heart trembled. He had not even seen Chu Kuangren's face and was already shocked by him. Even his invincible heart was shaken. Chapter 25. 9-level Taoist foundation, 9-lined golden core, and 9-colored nascent soul. The 3 supreme foundation of the great path floated above the towering heaven palace, and a majestic Taoist rhyme poured out. Between heaven and earth, the spiritual qi boiled like oil in a raging fire, and mysterious Taoist sounds echoed in the sky. It was as if the entire world was rejoicing for the 3 supreme Taoist foundations. Whether it was the ordinary disciples, the Taoists, the Black Heaven sect elders, or the protector behind Gu Chang'e, everyone was shocked by this. The 3 supreme Taoist foundations were formed in a short period of time. There were only a few examples of this even in the ancient books. Inside the Taoist palace, Lil Bing stood in Chu Kuangren's room. dumbfounded by the three supreme Taoist foundations. She then said helplessly, "I understand now. Master, you'll feel uncomfortable if you don't cause a commotion every day." Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren was sitting cross-legged on the bed in the room. A mysterious Taoist rhyme circulated around his body, making his body look crystal clear. His blood, meridians, bones, and organs were visible to the naked eye. Taoist runes were shuttling back and forth in his body. The vast power formed by the three supreme Taoist foundations was constantly transforming his limbs and bones, purifying his spiritual power. Gradually, Chu Kuangren's body began to glow with a golden light. His whole body was like a golden jade. If anyone was here, they would recognize that it was the top-notch Taoist physique, the golden jade body. Although the golden jade body was not as good as the supreme Taoist physique, it was not any weaker than Nangong Huang's yin-yang god eye. Cultivators with this Taoist physique could cultivate the purest spiritual power even if they were to cultivate the most common techniques, which was extremely practical. Chu Kuangren had already cultivated a sage technique, and now with the help of the golden jade body, the purity of his spiritual power had reached its peak. After a while, Chu Kuangren slowly opened his eyes. The transformations on his body also gradually disappeared, and he returned to normal. The effect of an entire bottle of heaven's spiritual marrow is indeed extraordinary. Not only did it help me form the three supreme Taoist foundations, but it also gave me the golden jade body. Chu Kuangren said emotionally as he felt the surging power in his body. He was now a nascent soul cultivator. However, he felt that even if a Paradise Realm cultivator stood in front of him, he would still be able to kill them. It was a very strong feeling. No way? It couldn't be, right? Am I that awesome now? Chu Kuangren was a little unsure. Should I find someone to test it out on? Chu Kuangren murmured. He got up and walked out the door. As soon as he walked out, he saw Lil Bing. "Young master, you've finally come out," Lil Bing said excitedly. "All right, let's go. Follow me outside to meet the crowd." Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. He could already sense that a large crowd had gathered outside the Taoist palace. Outside the towering heaven palace. Everyone watched as the phenomenon disappeared, but it took a long time for them to recover from their shock. After all, those were the three supreme foundations. How many people in the entire firmament star could actually form a supreme foundation? Not to mention, there were three types of supreme foundations in a row. It could be said that the commotion that Chu Kuangren caused this time was no less shocking to everyone than when he created his own sage ruler technique. Just when everyone was still in a daze, two figures came out of the Holy Ji Palace one after another. It was Chu Kuangren and Lil Bing. Chu Kuangren was dressed in a white, wide-sleeved robe with tassels hanging from his waist and a jade crown on his head. He looked like a deity as he appeared in front of everyone. "Look, elder senior brother is out. Eldest senior brother, kill me with your divine face. It's too beautiful. Elder senior brother, look at me. Oh my God, is that outer sect disciple elder senior brother's maid? I'm so envious. I want to serve elder senior brother too. Who doesn't want to? If I can face such a deity every day, I'm willing to serve him tea." Voices kept coming out from the crowd. Lil Bing, who had never been the center of attention, was a little nervous, especially when some women kept looking at her with jealousy and envy. On the other hand, Chu Kuangren was calm and unruffled. Lil Bing could not help but admire him. The young master was indeed the young master. He was so calm in any situation. At this time, Chu Kuangren, who looked calm, was also surprised. He knew that there were many people outside, but he did not expect there to be so many. However, he quickly calmed down. He was the Black Heaven Sect's elder senior brother. He had to be calm. "Congratulations, elder senior brother." At this time, Nangong Huang stepped forward and said loudly, "Congratulations, elder senior brother." Murong Xian and the other Taoists also expressed their congratulations. When the rest of the disciples saw this, how could they still be stunned when the Taoists had spoken? He immediately shouted out loud as well. "Congratulations, elder senior brother. Congratulations, elder senior brother." Tens of thousands of disciples shouted, and the sound waves rushed into the sky with great momentum. Chu Kuangren's ears were almost deafened. He nodded slightly and did not say much. At this time, Lan Yu came to Chu Kuangren's side. The originally valiant martial goddess was now docile and called him young master. This scene broke the hearts of many men, but after looking at Chu Kuangren, they could not help but be convinced and could not bear any resentment. Only an immortal-like figure like eldest senior brother is worthy of Miss Lan, and only Miss Lan can stand with eldest senior brother. Yes, the others can't compare at all. Some of the women looked at Lan Yu enviously. When these two stood together, it was as if they were made in heaven. One was like a cold goddess, and the other was like a deity. Even the sun and moon dimmed in comparison. Everyone else was reduced to the background in front of these two. Lil Bing stood next to the two, and all the gazes on her had shifted away. She felt like she was air now, and she wanted to cry but had no tears, but she was not dissatisfied. After all, not everyone could stand next to these two. You fought? Chu Kuangren noticed that Lan Yu's aura was a little unstable. Obviously, she had just fought with someone, and it was not an ordinary opponent. Otherwise, Lan Yu would not have lost control of her fluctuating aura. Just now, the royal Azure Crown Prince slandered you, so I couldn't control myself and attacked. Lan Yu was a little uneasy, afraid that Chu Kuangren would be unhappy. Are you hurt? Chu Kuangren asked, seeing that he did not blame her, but was instead worried about whether she was hurt. Lan Yu breathed a sigh of relief and felt a little happy. She shook her head. I just exchanged a few moves and used up some spiritual power. Well, that's good. Then, Chu Kuangren bowed in front of Honorable Xian Qi and the others. Honorable Xian Qi looked at the humble and polite Chu Kuangren, and the more he looked, the more satisfied he was. Kuangren, you have forged a supreme foundation today. Your future cultivation path will be smoother. I congratulate you. Thank you, honorable teacher. Not far away, Gu Chang'e frowned. Ever since Chu Kuangren came out of his closed-door meditation, he had not looked at him, and this made him very unhappy. He then took a step forward and said loudly, The Royal Azure Crown Prince invites elder senior brother of the Black Heavens sect for a battle. Do you dare to accept? His voice was like a dragon's roar, shaking the heavens. Gu Chang'e's aura exploded, and it was extremely domineering, wrapped in an invincible momentum, swept towards Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren also felt this hostility. He looked up at Gu Chang'e, and there were mysterious runes flowing in the depths of his eyes. Divine ability, Eye of Revelation. Suddenly, Gu Chang'e's information appeared one by one. Chapter 26. A series of information flashed in front of Chu Kuangren's eyes. Gu Chang'e's identity information, cultivation methods, and even the means of concealment were all clearly seen by him, and he knew them all. Chu Kuangren could not help but sigh at the power of the Eye of Revelation. As the saying goes, know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated. A mystic art like the Eye of Revelation was simply too powerful. Without even seeing the fight, he could already see through the opponent's moves. It was simply terrifying. Elder senior brother of the Black Heaven sect, are you afraid of fighting? Gu Chang'e saw Chu Kuangren's silence and thought that he was afraid of him. Thinking of this, his tone rose slightly with a hint of pride. Chu Kuangren was still looking at Gu Chang'e's information, but after hearing his words, he retracted his divine ability and said lightly, Come on then. All right, Gu Chang'e shouted, his eyes bursting with battle intent. Let me see what's so great about the supreme Taoist physique. After saying that, he circulated his spiritual power and took the lead with a punch. The rolling spiritual power turned into a huge dragon that flew out with its claws and fangs. The terrifying and domineering Taoist rhyme instantly shrouded Chu Kuangren. This was a sage technique specialized in attack, the Dragon Slaughter Fist. In Chu Kuangren's memory, sage techniques specialized in attack were extremely rare in the Azure Dragon domain. Some sage orthodoxies might not even have them. Facing the rushing dragon, Chu Kuangren took out the Descendant Self-Sword. With a slash, the incomparably pure spiritual power turned into a domineering purple sword ray, easily tearing the dragon apart. The terrifying sword ray did not lose its momentum and went straight towards Guchanga. What? Guchanga was shocked and hurriedly punched again to block the sword ray. But he was still forced back a few steps by the sword. The eyes of many Black Heaven sect disciples lit up. In the previous battle, Guchanga did not take a step back, whether it was against Nan Gonghuang or Lan Yu. But now, he was forced back by Chu Kuangren's sword. Elder Senior Brother is really powerful. Haha. One sword to break a sage technique and force Guchanga back. In my opinion, Elder Senior Brother is the real invincible one. What a domineering sword chi. Guchanga's expression changed slightly. Your strength should be more than this. Your Dragon Slaughter Fist is already at the mastery stage. Don't tell me that this is the mastery sage technique? Chu Kuangren said indifferently. Hearing this, Guchanga was slightly surprised and blurted out involuntarily, "How did you know?" It was extremely difficult to comprehend a sage technique to the realm of great accomplishment. Even geniuses would need to spend tens to hundreds of years. However, Guchanga unexpectedly comprehended the dragon-killing fist to the advanced level in the process of constantly challenging the Taoists and forging the invincible heart. Moreover, he had never used it in front of anyone else. Only he and his protector knew about it, so how did Chu Kuangren find out about it? That's not important. What's important is that you should think about how to defeat me, even though the possibility of that is almost zero. Chu Kuangren said indifferently. Since the other party had come to provoke the Black Heaven sect, as the Black Heaven sect's eldest senior brother, he naturally would not give them any face. Based on the previous exchange and the information provided by the Eye of Revelation, he had a high chance of defeating his opponent. He had gained too much from this closed-door meditation. At this moment, he was far better than his previous self, and it could even be said that he was not the same person as before. Arrogant. Do you really think that you can be so arrogant just because you have a supreme Taoist physique and a supreme foundation? Then do you have it? Chu Kuangren's words were a fatal blow. Guchanga's face darkened, and he did not say anything else. Instead, the spiritual power in his body surged wildly. If you want to see the dragon-killing fist, then I'll fulfill your wish. Have a taste of it. With a roar, the spiritual power in Guchanga's body rose to the extreme. A boundless and domineering Taoist rhyme poured out. An extremely ferocious, seemingly substantial golden dragon circled around Guchanga's body, and dragon scales appeared on his right hand. He had also mobilized the power of the dragon vein and gathered it on his strongest punch. The punch was accompanied by a loud boom, and the air exploded violently, causing the void to shake violently. The golden dragon roared, and the dragon's roar resounded throughout the world. With an incomparably domineering power, it charged towards Chu Kuangren. Many disciples could not help but feel the terrifying power contained in the golden dragon. I can't believe he still has such power. Even the Taoist could not help but exclaim. However, Chu Kuangren, who stood in front of them, looked extremely calm, and his body revealed an incomparably powerful sword-based Taoist rhyme. He suddenly slashed out with his sword. At that moment, the purest offensive sword intent swept in all directions like a tsunami, and the world was filled with a murderous aura. Wherever the sword light passed, everything was torn apart and shattered. It was as if that sword was the only thing left in the world. That sword had stunned all living beings. At the same time, it also destroyed the seemingly terrifying golden dragon. Not good. In the void, an old man exclaimed. A white spiritual power gushed out and hit the sword light. Humph. With a light snort, Honorable Xian Qi seemed to be prepared. He waved his sleeves and a purple sword qi gushed out. The white spiritual power was instantly shattered. After Chu Kuangren's sword light shattered the golden dragon, it shrouded Guchanga's body. Only a scream was heard, and a miserable figure flew out and fell to the ground. It was Guchanga. In the void, an old man in a white robe suddenly rushed out and came to Guchanga's side. At this time, Guchanga had an extra golden armor on his body, but his face was pale, and blood was constantly spitting out from his mouth. There was a fine residual sword chi in that blood. Seeing the golden armor, the old man in the white robe breathed a sigh of relief, and then looked at Chu Kuangren, who was holding a sword not far away, with a solemn expression. He was absolutely not mistaken just now. That sword, that Taoist rhyme, was definitely a sage ruler technique. There was a sage ruler technique in the Black Heaven sect. He had never heard of this before. Oh, your dragon scale armor came out just in time. Chu Kuangren smiled lightly. That armor was a rare defensive sage weapon that was nourished in Guchanga's body. Guchanga had called out this armor before he was hit by the sword light, but he was still a little too slow. Although he blocked most of the sword light, he was still affected and was seriously injured. What a terrifying sword. This is a sage technique. No, it could even be a sage ruler technique. What sword technique is this? Guchanga stared at Chu Kuangren and said, Heaven-slaying sword drawing technique. I created it myself, Chu Kuangren said. Guchanga sneered. Are you kidding me? Creating a sage ruler technique yourself, do you think you're a sage ruler? The faces of the people around him were a little strange. Guchanga did not believe it, but they knew that what Chu Kuangren said was true. This sage ruler technique was really created by him. Sigh, this is the difference, Nangong Huang said emotionally. Yes, he has created a sage ruler technique himself, and he even told you that he created it himself, but you just don't believe it and even laugh at him. There's no comparison. Morong Xian also echoed. Guchanga took a panoramic view of the faces of the others, and his heart suddenly skipped a beat. Was it really created by him? No, it was impossible. Even if he had a supreme Taoist physique, Chu Kuangren was still just a nascent soul realm cultivator. How could he create a sage ruler technique himself? Chapter 27. Guchanga suppressed the shock in his heart and looked at Chu Kuangren coldly. No matter what, I must defeat you today. Along the way, he was only half a step away from forging the invincible heart. If he were to lose to Chu Kuangren now, everything would be for naught. He would not allow such a thing to happen. Crown Prince, this person's strength is profound. I'm afraid, the white-robed old man said hesitantly. He didn't finish his sentence, but his meaning was clear. Chu Kuangren possessed a supreme Taoist physique, mastered a sage ruler technique, and even forged the 3 great supreme foundation levels. His combat strength far exceeded his own realm. Guchanga was seriously injured by the sword just now. If the fight went on, Guchanga would definitely lose. Old man Ouyang, let the juniors settle their own matters. Why are you meddling in this? Honorable Xian Qi's tone carried a hint of playfulness as he looked at the white-robed elder. The white-robed elder's surname was Ouyang, and he was the Royal Azure Dynasty's guardian. His cultivation level was already at the honorable realm. I am the Crown Prince's protector, so I naturally have to think for him, Elder Ouyang said lightly. But this is a battle between the young heaven's favorites. Even if you are the Tao protector, you have no right to interfere with the Royal Azure Crown Prince's thoughts. Honorable Xian Qi then looked at Guchanga. So, Crown Prince, are you going to fight or not? If you don't want to fight, just surrender. Chu Kuangren glanced at Honorable Xian Qi. This cheap honorable master of his was trying to break Guchanga's heart of invincibility. Fight. I have said that I will defeat him, Guchanga said coldly and waved his hand to stop Elder Ouyang, who still wanted to dissuade him. Very good. Honorable Xian Qi revealed a smile of success, and then secretly transmitted a message to Chu Kuangren. Kuangren, if Guchanga's heart of invincibility is forged, it will be a huge obstacle on your path to becoming an emperor. Now that he is heavily injured, even if he has a saint artifact, defeating him will be as easy as flipping your hand. Later, use your full strength to defeat him. Break his invincible heart, and he will no longer be able to compete with you on the Emperor's road. Chu Kuangren's heart skipped a beat. It turned out that Honorable Xian Qi had provoked Guchanga for his own sake. He wanted to get rid of the obstacles on his path to becoming an emperor. He nodded slightly without batting an eyelid, indicating that he understood. Guchanga's aura was weak, but her eyes revealed an unprecedented fighting spirit. He said to Chu Kuangren, I have a hunch that if I defeat you, My invincible heart will be fully mastered. Chu Kuangren did not say a word. Instead, he just stared at his opponent calmly. It was as if victory was within his grasp. Gu Chang'e sneered and said, "Do you think you can take this opportunity to defeat me just because you hurt me? Then you are gravely mistaken. I am the Crown Prince of Azure Sky. My methods are not something you can fathom. Let me show you my true capabilities." So much nonsense. Are you going to use the true dragon's blood essence or not? Chu Kuangren suddenly asked impatiently. Hearing this, Gu Chang'e's face stiffened. Then, she said in horror, "How did you know that I have the essence of a real dragon?" The true dragon essence blood was bestowed by his imperial father, and it was his greatest life-saving trump card. Even his Tao protector didn't know about it. However, Chu Kuangren was able to point it out in a single sentence. Previously, Chu Kuangren had also revealed that he had mastered the Dragon Slaughter Fist in the same manner. This made him feel as if he had been seen through by Chu Kuangren. That feeling was so horrifying that it sent chills down his spine. Could it be that he can predict the future and has the ability to foresee the future? The ability to foresee the future was an extremely rare talent. For example, the divine predictor who predicted the reopening of the Emperor's path in this era was one such person. Moreover, he was known to be the most brilliant foreseer. Supreme Taoist physique, supreme foundation, and the ability to foresee the future. How many more tricks did this person have up his sleeves? Gu Chang'e gulped as fear crept into his heart. However, he suppressed it with his strong Taoist core and said with a determined gaze, "So what if he's a foreseer? Today, I will use your blood to forge an invincible heart. Help me ascend to the Supreme Emperor's throne." With a loud roar, Gu Chang'e's aura instantly exploded. He burned the drop of true dragon's blood essence in his body, and a surge of energy instantly erupted. A blood-red light shot into the sky, and lines of Taoist patterns appeared, vaguely interweaving into a supreme true dragon. The true dragon's roar shook the heavens and earth. Countless beasts and living beings within thousands of miles knelt on the ground, trembling as they kowtowed in the direction of the Black Heaven sect. This is the dragon's aura. True dragon's blood essence. This Gu Chang'e has a drop of true dragon's blood essence in his body. Judging from its aura, it's at least an honorable supreme true dragon's blood essence. D*MN it, this is going to be troublesome. Honorable Shen Qi, Elder Ruyan, and the others' expressions changed slightly. They were ready to attack at any time to suppress Gu Chang'e. Chu Kuangren had a supreme Taoist physique, so he must not be harmed at all. A dragon's roar reverberated throughout the heavens and earth, shocking all living beings. At this time, Gu Chang'e had also changed. His heavily injured body instantly recovered, and his face was covered with fine dragon scale patterns. The dragon scale armor that he wore on his body also emitted a bright golden light. Gu Chang'e clenched his fist and a terrifying spiritual power exploded, setting off a violent shockwave in the air. He squinted his eyes slightly as he felt the surging power in his body, and his face was filled with joy. "I feel that I can fight a battle monarch now." The battle monarch was a realm above the paradise realm. The fact that Gu Chang'e had reached the stage where he could fight a battle monarch showed the power of the true dragon's blood essence. To be able to force me to use this last move, the Black Heaven sect's supreme Taoist physique is well deserved. However, there is only one emperor, and that is me. Come, let me give you a taste of defeat. Become a stepping stone for me to ascend to the emperor's throne. Gu Chang'e looked at Chu Kuangren, his black hair dancing in the wind, and his arrogance was revealed. Then, spiritual power erupted from his body, Taoist rhymes circulated, and a surge of transformation surged, condensing into a golden dragon shadow behind him. Dragon Vein Physique Transformation. Dragon Scale Armor, activate. Dragon Slaughter Fist. Gu Chang'e burned his true dragon's blood essence, activated the transformation, and activated the power of the sage weapon. Then he performed the great accomplishment sage technique, Dragon Slaughter Fist, and attacked Chu Kuangren. The boundless and terrifying aura shook the void. The surging spiritual power madly slapped the air, forming circles of shockwaves that spread out, and a ferocious dragon-shaped fist chi soared into the sky. This punch caused the space to fluctuate violently. The boundless dragon poise spread out for thousands of miles, shaking the mountains and rivers. Everyone stared at this punch and Chu Kuangren, who was about to receive it. Honorable Xian Qi could not help but want to attack. However, at this moment Chu Kuangren moved. Surges of mysterious sword-based Taoist rhymes soared into the sky and intertwined to form the Sword of the Heavens. Boundless sword chi gushed out, shrouding the area, and turned into a prison. It was the Nine Heaven Sword Prison. Then, Taoist rhymes circulated under Chu Kuangren's feet, intertwining to form a 36th tier sword chi green lotus, and waves of Taoist rhymes echoed in the sky. It was the Green Lotus Sword Song transformation. All three Taoist physique transformations were activated once again. Moreover, its power was even stronger than the last time he fought Nangong Huang. Then, Chu Kuangren's body emitted a golden light, and his body became crystal clear like a golden jade. It was the golden jade body that automatically manifested after he pushed his spiritual power to the limit. Heaven-slaying sword drawing technique. Chu Kuangren held the Descendant Self-Sword and swung it again. In an instant, a boundless offensive sword intent erupted, and the horrifying sword ray with horrifying Taoist rhymes collided with the dragon-shaped fist chi. With a loud explosion, the fist chi was instantly shattered. The sword ray cut through Gu Changa's body like a hot knife through butter. The Dragon Meridian physique transformation was destroyed by the sword chi. The sage weapon, the dragon scale armor, became dim and cracked. The terrifying impact caused Gu Changa to spit out blood again. The mighty dragon poise was forcefully shattered by this sword attack. Stop talking nonsense. In the end, it's just a sword attack. Chapter 28. Wherever the sword light passed, the void almost collapsed. The vast and majestic dragon might completely collapsed and turned into nothingness. The crown prince of the royal Azure dynasty, Gu Changa, was sent flying on the spot as he spat out a mouthful of blood. This was the second time he had been sent flying by Chu Kuangren. Moreover, it was only a single strike. Crown Prince. Elder Ouyang's face changed, and he hurriedly rushed forward. At this time, Gu Changa's situation was much worse than before. Even the dragon scale armor was cracked. The terrifying sword chi eroded through the crack, constantly destroying Gu Changa's body. It's just a spar. Why are you being so heavy-handed? Elder Ouyang glared at Chu Kuangren. The horrifying honorable poise was unleashed towards Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren, on the other hand, had the sword of the heavens above his head and the green lotus sword chi beneath his feet. With the 9 heaven sword prison revolving around his body, he was not afraid at all in the face of an honorable's interrogation. It's just one strike. Chu Kuangren's intention was obvious. All he did was unleash his sword. He could only blame Gu Changa for being so weak that she couldn't even block his sword. Elder Ouyang was exasperated, but he did not know how to refute. Was Gu Changa weak? If he was weak, he wouldn't have been able to defeat 6 great sage orthodoxies in a row. On the contrary, he was very strong, and there weren't many in the same generation who could compare to him. Then why did he lose so badly? That was because Chu Kuangren was too powerful. Supreme Taoist physique, golden jade body, sage ruler technique, 3 supreme foundations, sage artifact. Any one of these was enough to shock the world. And all of this was concentrated on one person. How terrifying was that? The more Elder Ouyang thought about it, the more shocked he became. His gaze towards Chu Kuangren became more and more solemn. His honorable poise continued to crash against Chu Kuangren's 3 great Taoist physique transformations. But Chu Kuangren still stood firm. He had actually used his 3 Taoist body avatars to block the power of a supreme being. Just when Elder Ouyang wanted to increase his power to test Chu Kuangren's limits, an equally domineering aura suddenly erupted. It was Honorable Xian Qi. He glared at Elder Ouyang with an unfriendly expression and said, "Old man Ouyang, do you have a death wish?" Honorable Xian Qi was surrounded by purple sword chi. Each strand was powerful enough to tear mountains, rivers, and earth apart. The might of the Supreme Honorable being instantly sealed the entire area. Elder Ouyang's heart trembled. It was true that he was also an honorable one, but compared to Honorable Shen Qi, who was an honorable supreme who was in charge of an orthodoxy, he was far inferior. If the other party wanted to, he could even kill him in one move. I forgot myself. Elder Ouyang took a deep breath and restrained his aura. In someone else's place, he had no choice but to lower his head. Humph. Honorable Shen Qi scoffed. Elder Ouyang looked at Guchanga. The dignified crown prince of the royal Azure dynasty was lying on the ground in a pathetic state. His eyes were lifeless as he looked at Chu Kuangren while he muttered, "Impossible. This is impossible." Obviously, the invincible heart had completely collapsed. In fact, one's Dao heart might even be clouded and develop mental demons. And that inner demon was none other than Chu Kuangren. In other words, Guchanga might be traumatized. This is the invincible heart? Aren't you a little too weak? You can't even handle it mentally. Chu Kuangren looked at Guchanga and shook his head. Seeing Guchanga's crushing defeat, the surrounding disciples couldn't help but smile. Elder Senior Brother's attack is indeed extraordinary. Yeah, look at Guchanga. It seems that he has already developed mental demons. In the future, when he sees Elder Senior Brother, he will be afraid before he even fights. Do you remember what Elder Senior Brother said before Guchanga came? Guchanga is nothing to be afraid of. At first, I thought Elder Senior Brother was trying to boost morale. I didn't expect him to really look down on Guchanga. Guchanga is nothing to be afraid of. He really is nothing to be afraid of. It's just a matter of one sword. Haha, how satisfying. With Elder Senior Brother here, the sky prides of the world will be overshadowed. The voices of discussion rose and fell one after another, constantly entering Guchanga's ears. The more he listened, the angrier he felt. However, after seeing Chu Kuangren, a sense of powerlessness surged in his heart. These two feelings swelled in his chest, as if a mountain was pressing down on him, making him almost breathless. In the end, Guchanga could no longer bear it. He violently spat out a mouthful of blood. His vision went black, his head tilted, and he completely fainted. How did he faint? Chu Kuangren blinked, feeling that Guchanga's psychological endurance was not very good. He actually fainted because of someone's words. Elder Ouyang was shocked. He quickly went forward and carried Guchanga in his arms. He kept injecting spiritual energy into her to alleviate her injuries. Then, his figure turned into a stream of light and flew out of the mountain gate. How rude of you to leave without saying goodbye. Chu Kuangren curled his lips. He slowly retracted his vision, and the boundless sword-based Taoist rhyme dissipated, replaced by an ethereal and otherworldly banished immortal temperament. Countless disciples looked at Chu Kuangren, their hearts thumping, and countless gazes of admiration fell on him. After noticing these gazes, Chu Kuangren smiled at the crowd, maintaining his amiable and humble Elder Senior Brother persona. Who knew how many people's souls were hooked by his smile? Oh my God! Elder Senior Brother looks so good when he smiles. This is cheating, I'm going to die. I'll see you in this life. If you don't marry me, I won't marry either. Chu Kuangren came to the front of Honorable Shen Qi and said, I've completed my mission. I've defeated Guchanga. Good, good, good. Honorable Shen Qi praised Chu Kuangren a few times, looking at him with extreme satisfaction. After this battle, your name will be known throughout the Azure Dragon domain, but you've also formed a grudge with the Royal Azure Crown Prince, Elder Rian said. Chu Kuangren smiled confidently and said, It's fine. If I can defeat him once, I can defeat him a second time and a third time. He won't be able to defeat me. Haha. Well said. Honorable Shen Qi laughed and said, Cultivators should have this kind of confidence. It's just a Royal Azure Crown Prince. There's nothing to worry about. As long as those old farts don't make a move, we'll let you young people solve your own problems. However, if they want to mess around, then the Black Heaven sect will not allow anyone to bully us. As soon as he said that, Honorable Xian Qi's eyes flashed with a hint of coldness, and everyone felt the temperature in the airdrop. However, that feeling disappeared very quickly. Everyone knew that the royal Azure dynasty had better not make things difficult for Chu Kuangren because of what happened today. Otherwise, the wrath of an honorable supreme would not be easy to bear. By the way, Kuangren, there's something I want to ask you. Honorable Xian Qi looked at Lan Yu next to him and asked, "Is this lady your follower?" "Yes." "This lady has a good aptitude. What's her background?" "Lan Yu has the holy radiant physique." Chu Kuangren did not hide it. As soon as he said that, everyone's mind went blank and they looked at Lan Yu in disbelief. Another supreme Taoist physique. Not to mention, Chu Kuangren's follower. Thinking of this, everyone admired Chu Kuangren even more. To have a supreme Taoist physique as a follower, how many people had the honor? However, Honorable Xian Qi's face was a little solemn. A supreme Taoist physique suddenly appeared. Could there be something fishy about it? Don't worry, honorable teacher. Lan Yu is absolutely reliable. Chu Kuangren said. Honorable Xian Qi pondered for a moment and then nodded. Yes, as long as you know what you're doing. If someone really wanted to plot something, sending a supreme Taoist physique as a chess piece would be too extravagant. Moreover, Lan Yu was from the winged human tribe, and there were no supreme Taoist physiques in the winged human tribe. If such a sky pride appeared, how could they be willing to let her go? It seems that this is Kuangren's own opportunity. Chapter 29. After defeating Guchanga, Chu Kuangren suddenly made a request to Honorable Xian Qi to go out and train. After all, this was a great place and he could not always stay in Black Heaven sect. That would be too boring. Besides, he was now a nascent soul cultivator, and with his various trump cards, he had the strength to protect himself. It was time for him to go out and see. Flowers in a greenhouse can't withstand the wind and rain. Kuangren, it's not impossible for you to go out and train, but wait for another 2 days. I'll arrange a protector for you, Honorable Xian Qi said. When the sky prides of the orthodoxies went out to ensure their safety, they would usually be provided with a protector. Especially for a sky pride like Chu Kuangren, they could not be careless. All right. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. He was also quite curious about his protector. Black Heaven sect, Back Mountain. There were a few thatched cottages in the green bamboo forest. Only a few people in the entire Black Heaven sect knew about these cottages, and inside these cottages were the strongest secrets of Black Heaven sect. Creak. One of the cottages suddenly opened. A white-robed old man with white hair and beard walked out. Seventh forefather, are you sure what to do? An old voice came from another thatched cottage. The white-robed old man smiled lightly. I'm a candle in the wind, and I don't have much time left. While I still have some use, I'll take a trip to the mortal world. If you rest, you can live for at least 100 years, but if you go out and meet a strong cultivator, I'm afraid you won't last more than a few years. The voice in the cottage advised. Hey, I know, but that junior is really outstanding. I want to protect him and go out into the mortal world again. The seventh forefather smiled lightly. The cottages fell into silence. After a while, a voice came from one of the cottages again. If that's the case, then go and walk your last path. Thank you, second forefather. The seventh forefather bowed slightly, then turned and walked out of the bamboo forest. The breeze blew, and the bamboo leaves rustled. On this day, an old honorable once again entered the mortal world for the sake of a junior. Black Heaven sect at the mountain gate. The crowd moved as countless disciples looked at the white-robed figure outside the mountain gate. Their eyes were filled with a strong reluctance to part with him. That was the Black Heaven sect's eldest senior brother, Chu Kuangren. Today was the day he would go out to train. Boo-hoo, eldest senior brother is about to leave. I'm so sad. Who isn't? When I think about not being able to see eldest senior brother for a long time, I don't even have the motivation to cultivate anymore. Eldest senior brother. Take care. The mountain is high and the road is long. Eldest senior brother, you must be careful. Master, you must be careful when you're out there. Don't ever starve or catch a cold. Lil Bing looked at Chu Kuangren tearfully and said, Chu Kuangren patted her head and chuckled. Take good care of the towering heaven palace, cultivate well, and wait for my return. I will definitely try my best. Lil Bing nodded heavily. Gongzi was so outstanding. How could she not work hard? Chu Kuangren looked at Honorable Xian Qi again. This Honorable Supreme also revealed a trace of reluctance at this time, but he also knew that a young eagle would eventually learn to soar on its own. Kuangren, the outside world is not like the Black Heaven sect. Although you have peerless talent, people are sinister. You must be careful. Think twice before you act, Honorable Xian Qi said. Honorable teacher, I understand. You don't have to worry. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. Kuangren, the world is in chaos now. It has revealed the appearance of a world of great competition. Sky prides from all great orthodoxies are emerging one after another. Hundreds of flowers are blooming. You must be careful when you go out. Although it's best to be careful, don't let our Black Heaven sect's reputation down. Remember, you're the Black Heaven sect's senior brother. Black Heaven sect will always be your strongest shield, Elder Rian said earnestly. Upon hearing that, Chu Kuangren nodded and smiled confidently. Don't worry, Elder. Before I descend into the world, let the flowers bloom all over the place and compete with each other for beauty. But after I descend into the world, I'll be the only one who stands out. As soon as these words came out, Honorable Xian Qi and the others were slightly stunned. Then, they laughed loudly and looked at Chu Kuangren with great admiration. The rest of the disciples were also encouraged and no longer acted like a little girl. Well said, Elder Senior Brother. We shouldn't have asked Elder Senior Brother to stay. Elder Senior Brother is going to win glory for our Black Heaven sect. He is going to be famous. What a good standout. As expected of our Elder Senior Brother. Countless disciples looked at Chu Kuangren with even more admiration. Chu Kuangren cupped his hands at the crowd and then turned to leave. Lan Yu followed behind him and walked down the mountain. 2 supreme Taoist physiques had officially entered the world. 3 days had passed since Chu Kuangren defeated Guchanga. Before Chu Kuangren entered the world, his reputation had already spread. After all, it was hard not to attract attention when he defeated the Royal Azure Crown Prince. Not to mention, he had a supreme Taoist physique. For a time, the Azure Dragon domain was shocked. Guchanga lost. Guchanga has finally lost. He lost to the new lead disciple of Black Heaven sect, Chu Kuangren, and it was a crushing defeat. He was defeated by 1 sword. What? Is Chu Kuangren that strong? When did the Black Heaven sect have such a supreme sky pride? Guchanga defeated 6 great sage orthodoxies and was already invincible when he went to the Black Heaven sect. How could Chu Kuangren defeat him with 1 sword? If this is true, then Chu Kuangren should be called a young emperor. Investigate. Find out who this person is. Guchanga, He defeated 6 great sage orthodoxies in a row. How impressive. But in the end, he was defeated by someone else. I think his heart of invincibility has been broken, and there is one less obstacle on his path to becoming an emperor. The news of Chu Kuangren defeating Guchanga spread everywhere. Information about Chu Kuangren was also dug out. Among them, the Supreme Taoist Physique, the 3 Supreme Foundation levels, and the self-created Sage Ruler Technique were the most eye-catching. Oh my God! Is he a monster? Is this for real? Is it that exaggerated? It's just a rumor. I don't believe such a demonic sky pride exists in this world. It must be made up. With such talent, he should be called a young emperor. Some believed it while others doubted it. In short, Chu Kuangren's name became a hot topic among the orthodoxies. Some nosy people even named Chu Kuangren as a young emperor. What was a young emperor? It was a young emperor who had yet to become an emperor. Usually, it was a title given to those supreme sky prides. Those who were given the title of young emperor were the most dazzling sky prides in Firmament Star. Even Guchanga was not qualified to be given such a title. Since Chu Kuangren had only been famous for a short time and had too few battle achievements, the title of young emperor was soon forgotten. But soon after, another piece of news flew in all directions. Chu Kuangren had entered the realm. Moreover, Before he entered the realm, he had issued a challenge to all the sky prides in the world. He wanted to fight against the world alone. When this news came out, everyone was shocked. Chapter 30. Haha. No matter how many flowers he blooms in the garden, I shall stand out from the rest. Well done, Chu Kuangren. You live up to your name. I'd like to see how long you can keep up your arrogance. In the sage orthodoxy Jiang Valley, a purple-robed, strong-looking young man sneered as he looked at the rising sun in the distance. In another sage orthodoxy, the school of White Lotus, a beautiful lady in a long white dress with bells around her ankles sat by a pond. Her fair feet gently swayed, creating waves. Blooming flowers in the garden, standing out from the rest? Does this elder senior brother of the Black Heavens sect really have the strength? Or is he just talking nonsense? Comparing the world to a garden, is he really that talented? Or is his life as fragile as a piece of paper? Heh, let's hope he's not another Guchanga. The Taoists of the various sage orthodoxies reacted fiercely. Some even responded on the spot when they heard the news. I am Yuan Hong of the Dharma sect. Since elder senior brother of the Black Heaven sect thinks that he can stand out from the rest, then when we meet again in the future, we shall have a spar to see who is better. Yuan Hong of the Dharma sect replied. That was considered a milder response. In contrast, another sage orthodoxy, the Five Ways sect, reacted much more fiercely. It was said that the Taoist of the Five Ways sect, Fangtian, smashed a coral tree on the spot when he heard the news. Someone who has been hiding in the sect for more than 10 years dares to spout such nonsense? What a joke. I hope you don't meet me in the future, or else I'll let you know the power of the Five Ways Tao. I'll let you know the consequences of your arrogance. Apart from the Five Ways sect and the Dharma sect, even the princes and princesses of the royal Azure dynasty had spoken up. Humph, how dare you, Chu Kuangren? Not only did you hurt my brother, you even dare to declare war on the world. Very well. I'll definitely meet you in the future. The third prince of the royal Azure dynasty announced. Chu Kuangren hurt my brother. Princess Linglong will remember this. If we meet again in the future, don't blame me for being merciless. The first princess, Princess Linglong, followed suit. Chu Kuangren, how dare you? As expected of his name, he has just entered the world and he already dares to declare war on the world. He is indeed arrogant. I hope he can live for a few more days. The tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. If you're too aggressive, you'll fall sooner or later. Do you really think you're invincible just because you defeated Guchanga? I'm waiting to see you make a fool of yourself. It's just another Guchanga. All of a sudden, Chu Kuangren seemed to have become the target of every sky pride in the world. Regardless of whether they were powerful or not, everyone wanted to condemn him. It was as if he could become superior by doing so. At this time, Chu Kuangren, who had become the center of attention, had just left the Black Heavens sect with Lan Yu and headed straight towards the south. He seemed to have a clear purpose. Young master, where are we going? Lan Yu asked curiously. To search for treasures. Chu Kuangren waved the blueprint in his hand and smiled. During the 10 consecutive lucky draws, Chu Kuangren had once drawn a Starlight grade treasure map. The reason he came out to train this time was to hunt for treasures. Coincidentally, the treasure was hidden in the Azure Dragon domain. According to the treasure map, this treasure is hidden in a mountain range near the White Cloud City of the Azure Dragon domain. Chu Kuangren murmured. Besides the treasures, there was another thing that piqued Chu Kuangren's interest. That was the White Cloud City Lord. Rumor had it that the current White Cloud City Lord, Yi Wuheng, was a top-notch honorable swordsman. Together with his own honorable master, they were the two pinnacle swordsmen of the Azure Dragon domain. Chu Kuangren knew of Honorable Shen Qi, who was an honorable supreme. Although he had never seen him in action, he had used the Eye of Revelation and obtained some information. His combat strength definitely far exceeded other honorables. For Yi Wuheng to be on the same level as his honorable master, he must be extraordinary as well. Perhaps he could visit White Cloud City this time. 2 days later, Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu arrived at the location marked on the treasure map. However, in front of them was an empty mountainous area. Forget about treasures, there was not even a single strand of hair. Young master, could we be in the wrong place? No, it's here. Chu Kuangren smiled confidently and said, the map says that there is a formation hidden in the void where the treasure is hidden. It needs to be attacked by Earth Qi to reveal itself. Earth Qi attack? Yes. Chu Kuangren smiled. Then, he looked at the void in front of him and let out a soft roar. He unleashed his nascent soul cultivation and gathered the Earth Qi around him. It was the sage ruler technique, the human mountain stamp. Chu Kuangren formed a seal with his hand and a mysterious Taoist rhyme circulated. The surrounding mountains and rivers trembled as the majestic Earth Qi transformed into a giant godly mountain. The godly mountain crashed into the void as if it had crashed into a barrier. With a loud bang, a large amount of Earth Qi flowed in all directions and attacked the surroundings. A burst of dazzling light suddenly shot up into the sky. Then, a giant golden door appeared in the void. On the door, there were carvings of mountains, strange beasts, the sun, and the moon. On top of the door, there were two big words that were full of mysterious Taoist rhymes. Yuan Ling. The golden door hung in the void, emitting waves of auspicious light and surrounded by Taoist rhymes. All living beings within a 10,000-mile radius could clearly sense it. Even some strong cultivators who were further away could feel the abnormality. What is that? A door? Such a strong energy fluctuation and such a rich Taoist rhyme. Could it be that some kind of treasure has appeared? Let's go take a look. This is a great opportunity of fortune. It should be mine. Yuan Ling. By the heavens, could it be the famous Honorable Yuan Ling from 20,000 years ago, who was known as the #1 cultivator below the sages? Honorable Yuan Ling died when he was trying to ascend to the sage realm 20,000 years ago. Rumor has it that before he died, he hid all the treasures he had collected in a secret place. Could this be where Honorable Yuan Ling hid his treasures? Rumor has it that Honorable Yuan Ling's treasure vault contains the sage's opportunity of fortune. If we can get it, we can become a sage. Let's go, let's go. All of a sudden, countless strong cultivators noticed that something was amiss. Countless people went crazy over it. An Honorable Supreme's treasure vault was shocking enough to make countless cultivators scramble for it, let alone the sage's opportunity of fortune. How many sages were there in the entire firmament star? It was crazy. Everyone rushed towards the golden door like a madman. Chu Kuangren was dumbfounded by the scene before him. What a scam. All he wanted was to go on a treasure hunt and leave after he was done with it. Now that he had caused such a huge commotion and attracted everyone here, how was he supposed to get rich quietly? The seventh forefather, who was secretly protecting him, was so shocked that he almost bit his tongue off. He had indeed seen Chu Kuangren holding a so-called treasure map and blindly studying it for the past few days, but he did not pay much attention to it. After all, there were many treasure maps. Some eccentric strong cultivators like to leave all kinds of puzzles for others to solve, especially treasure maps. He had seen too many of them when he was young. Who would have thought that it was Honorable Yuan Ling's treasure map? The seventh forefather was dumbfounded. He had long heard that Chu Kuangren would cause a huge commotion every few days when he was in the sect, but who would have thought that this guy would cause such a huge commotion within 2 days of coming out to train? Honorable Yuan Ling's treasure vault. How many strong cultivators would be attracted to it? Chapter 31. The location of Honorable Yuan Ling's treasure had been exposed. The surging Taoist rhymes and the auspicious golden lights had attracted countless strong cultivators, especially the White Cloud City not far away. Countless sword lights flashed out one after another. Among them, the first white sword ray was the fastest and the most dazzling. Everyone could not help but marvel at it. It's the eldest son of Honorable Swordsman White Cloud. He's here too. Looks like Honorable Yuan Ling's treasure is very attractive. In front of Honorable Yuan Ling's treasure, Chu Kuangren looked at the golden door that was releasing its presence and shook his head helplessly. What a scam. Let's go. Chu Kuangren pulled Lan Yu and rushed through the golden door. The moment they entered the door, Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu's eyes lit up and they found themselves in a dense forest. This is a lesser realm, Chu Kuangren said in surprise. Legend had it that some great cultivators who were proficient in spatial techniques could create a lesser realm. Obviously, Honorable Yuan Ling was one of those great cultivators. Chu Kuangren leaped into the air and stood 100 meters above the ground. He looked around and found that he was surrounded by a vast forest. Not only that, but he also found that there was a limit to the sky. He could only fly 100 meters above the ground. Any higher and he would encounter a barrier. After landing on the ground, Chu Kuangren took out the treasure map and found that the route on it had changed. Oh, this is a new map. How considerate. Chu Kuangren led Lan Yu in the direction of the treasure map. Not long after they left, a group of people also entered the lesser realm. Countless spiritual thoughts instantly surged in all directions. Where is the treasure? No, there's a restriction in this space. My spiritual thoughts are limited to a radius of 3 feet. It's useless. Then use your eyes. We must find it. The group flew in all directions. However, not long after, these people encountered all kinds of difficulties. Some encountered terrifying beasts, some triggered traps and were killed by countless sword chi, and some were trapped in a certain place. At this time, Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu were leisurely walking on a small path filled with flowers and birds. Chu Kuangren held the treasure map in his hand and said, "TSK, TSK. There are countless traps and powerful beasts hidden in this small world. Without the correct route to guide us, finding the treasure is as difficult as ascending the heavens." He could almost imagine how miserable the cultivators who had entered the small world were right now. They were in a terrible state. About half an hour later, Chu Kuangren arrived at a palace. This palace was hidden in the depths of the mountain range. It was dazzling in gold and jade, and it flowed with the aura of the Tao. Streaks of symbols were engraved on the surrounding pillars. Found it. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. The two of them walked into the palace, and what entered their eyes was a large number of treasures that emitted the light of treasures. There were spirit stones, spirit marrow, elixirs, weapons. There were even more than 10 supreme artifacts and sacred weapons. Treasures filled the entire palace, and in the corner, there was a pond filled with a golden liquid. That was the earth's spiritual marrow. Although it couldn't compare to the heaven's spiritual essence, the value of this pond full of earth's spiritual essence was so high that even some supremes would covet it. There was also a wooden box in the center of the palace. The shape of the box was gorgeous, and there were dragons and phoenixes carved on it. There seemed to be Tao rhymes emanating from it. So many treasures. Lan Yu could not help but be surprised. The seventh forefather, who was hiding in the dark, could not help but feel a ripple in his Taoist core. As expected of the Honorable Yuan Ling, who was known to be invincible under the sages 20,000 years ago. This kind of heritage is indeed amazing. But how did he get the treasures so easily? It's a little unbelievable that the treasures of the Honorable Yuan Ling don't even have a single mechanism or restriction spell. Or could it be that this little guy's treasure map has the correct route? If that's the case, then he must be very lucky. Just a few days after leaving the sect, he had already obtained an Honorable Supreme's treasure vault. Even the seventh forefather could not help but be a little envious of such luck. This scepter has such a strong light aura. Suddenly, Lan Yu was attracted by a scepter and reached out to touch it. However, she was stopped by Chu Kuangren. "Wait a moment. Master!" Lan Yu was a little confused. "Be careful, there are mechanisms," Chu Kuangren said solemnly. He had seen scenes like this many times in television dramas. When treasure hunters saw a treasure, they could not help but grab it and then trigger the mechanism. Either they killed their teammates or they died together. Those tricks in television dramas don't exist here. Chu Kuangren said something that Lan Yu did not understand, and then he began to inspect the surroundings. He circulated his spiritual thought and scanned the entire hall. He also carefully observed each treasure, but he was determined not to touch them recklessly. The seventh forefather, who was hiding in the dark, smiled when he saw that. This little guy was quite vigilant. Just as he was thinking, he suddenly noticed something, and his gaze changed slightly. There's something fishy here. At that moment, Chu Kuangren noticed something. Under his observation, most of the treasures in this hall had a very fine layer of dust on their surface. This dust was hard to see with the naked eye, so Chu Kuangren only noticed it after scanning it a few times with his spiritual thought. But what is this thing? Chu Kuangren was thinking if he should take the risk and give it a try. After all, he had the immortal body. That's the Tridarch ruler's dust. At that moment, an old voice rang in Chu Kuangren's ears. Chu Kuangren's heart skipped a beat. He knew that this was the protector that the Black Heaven sect had arranged for him, but he had not shown himself yet. The Tridarch ruler's dust is something that I've only read about in ancient books. Rumor has it that this item is an extremely evil item. It looks like a speck of dust, but its power is extremely terrifying. Even a battle monarch would be instantly corroded into a puddle of blood if they touch it. Even an honorable would not dare to touch it. The seventh forefather explained. After hearing that, Lan Yu's expression changed slightly, and she subconsciously took a few steps back. She looked at the treasures as if she was looking at a monster. This honorable Yuan Ling is quite insidious. Chu Kuangren laughed. Then, he asked the seventh forefather for a solution. That's easy. As soon as the seventh forefather finished speaking, a breeze blew in the hall, and the wind swirled the dust into a ball the size of an egg. This item is very powerful. If it's used properly, it may be of great use, the seventh forefather said. Chu Kuangren quickly took out a bottle and stored the dust. This item was effective on living beings, but it had no effect on inanimate objects. Otherwise, the treasures in the hall would have long been corroded. You're quite vigilant. Even I almost didn't notice this Tridarch ruler's dust. Good, very good. The seventh forefather praised. Safety first when you're out. Chu Kuangren smiled. Then, he began to store the treasures in the hall into his yin and yang ring. He also opened the wooden box to have a look. Inside was actually a strand of purple gas. This purple haze was filled with terrifying Taoist rhymes. When the wooden box was opened, waves of mysterious Taoist rhymes reverberated in the void. It was as if a sage was preaching, and there was even a strange fragrance. This is the Sage Foundation, the primordial purple haze. At that moment, the seventh forefather could not help but exclaim. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up too. He had heard of the primordial purple haze before. This item was too famous. It was the Sage Foundation, an unparalleled treasure. To put it this way, if an honorable had the primordial purple haze, he could become a sage within 100 years. However, there was a drawback to using the primordial purple haze to become a sage, and that was that he would only become the weakest sage, and it would be very difficult for him to improve further. No matter what, he was still a sage, an existence that stood above billions of living beings. Chapter 32. I didn't expect that the so-called opportunity to become a sage in Yuan Ling's treasure house is this primordial violet qi. It's just that Sovereign Yuan Ling was a peerless genius back then, so I'm sure he disdained to use this primordial violet qi to become a saint. It's a pity that he failed to overcome the heavenly tribulation. Otherwise, with his battle prowess after becoming a saint, he might even have the chance to suppress an entire era. The seventh ancestor sighed with emotion. Upon hearing that, Chu Kuangren asked, Senior, do you have any use for this item? Keep it. You can use it or give it to the other supreme beings in the sect. It's better than giving it to an old man like me. The seventh forefather laughed. However, Chu Kuangren could sense a sense of desolation in her voice. What he didn't know was that the seventh patriarch had already entered Deva Decay Stage 5 and was nearing the end of his lifespan. Even if the primordial violet qi was given to him, he probably wouldn't have the time to comprehend it, and it would just be a waste. Chu Kuangren did not ask any questions and kept the primordial purple haze. He had no intention of using the violet energy. Using the primordial purple haze to become a sage meant that his combat strength would be the weakest because the daos he gained were not his own. Chu Kuangren had to rely on his own strength to become a sage. He had a supreme Taoist body and a supreme foundation, so it would not be a problem. Although there was no need for the purple gas, it could still be used by other people in the Black Heaven sect, such as Honorable Shen-Chi, Elder Ruyan, and a few other honorables. After looting the palace, Chu Kuangren did not even let go of a single soul stone before he left in satisfaction. Boom! A terrifying sword light burst out and tore a malevolent demonic beast into two halves. Blood rained down from the sky and dyed the mountain forest red. In the air, a middle-aged man in a white robe held a supreme treasure sword with a cold expression on his face. If anyone from the White Cloud City was here, they would definitely recognize this person. It was the eldest son of the White Cloud City Lord, Yi Baifeng. Sir, the scouts ahead reported that they found a palace 300 miles ahead. A swordsman suddenly arrived. Yi Baifeng's eyes lit up. Let's go! Very quickly, Yi Baifeng saw the palace hidden in the depths of the mountain from afar, and his face instantly revealed a look of ecstasy. That must be where Autarch Yuanling hid his treasures. The opportunity to become a sage must be inside, just as Yi Baifeng and the rest were about to approach. Suddenly, a series of roars came from afar. Gibbon with black fur all over their bodies leaped out from the forest, each of them exuding an incomparably violent aura. The leader of the group was a combat king. Damn it, these ape demons have all been refined into puppets by Honorable Yuanling. Although they don't have any intelligence, they aren't afraid of death and are extremely difficult to deal with. It's just a group of animals. There's no need to be afraid. The treasury is right in front of us. How can we retreat? That's right. This is a great opportunity for us. Kill. I can't return empty-handed. The group of cultivators instantly clashed with the gibbon. Terrifying energy burst out and swept through the forest. Yi Baifeng, on the other hand, faced the leader of the group, the gibbon. This gibbon's strength was extremely terrifying. Its eyes were blood red, and it was filled with a murderous aura. Every time it waved its arms, it would create a violent flow of spirit chi. His battle prowess had already reached the peak of the War King realm. Although Yi Baifeng was strong, he couldn't do anything to the gibbon in such a short amount of time. As time passed, he started to get impatient. Honorable Yuanling's treasury was right in front of him, but it was blocked by a group of apes. If this dragged on and someone else got to it first, it would be like drawing water with a sieve. Thinking about this, Yi Baifeng gritted his teeth and took out a small silver sword. It was a small sword that his father, Honorable Swordsman Whitecloud, once used. It would be equivalent to an attack from Honorable Swordsman Whitecloud. What kind of person was Honorable Swordsman Whitecloud? Honorable Supreme. A casual swing of his sword was enough to kill any war king. I can't care so much anymore. Go! Yi Baifeng activated the small silver sword. In an instant, a terrifying Taoist rhyme filled the sky. 1,000 feet long silver sword ray descended from the sky, locking onto the Gibbon King. Roar! The Gibbon King roared into the sky, trying its best to defend. However, an attack from an Honorable Supreme was powerful enough to overturn the mountains and seas. The moment it came into contact with the sword ray, the Gibbon King exploded into a mist of blood, while the sword ray fell into the mountains. Boom! With a loud bang, the entire small world shook. In the void, cracks began to appear. Large pieces of space began to crumble and shatter. Everyone who had entered the pocket dimension was shocked by this sudden commotion, and their pupils shrank, and their faces turned pale. F***CK. Damn it, which idiot dared to use the power of an Honorable Supreme in this small world? Is he tired of living? The small world is starting to shatter. There's not much time left. We can't find the treasury anymore. Our lives are more important. We have to leave this place as soon as possible. The terrifying power formed by the collapse of a small world is no joke. Even an Honorable Supreme would find it hard to survive. Those who knew that they had no hope of finding the treasury left. After all, no matter how tempting the treasury was, it was not as important as their lives. As for Yi Baifeng, after killing the Gibbon King, the remaining sword chi also scattered the rest of the Gibbon Kings. There's not much time left. Let's go. Yi Baifeng took this opportunity to lead the crowd into the palace. But what welcomed them was an empty palace. How could this be? Where's the treasury? Where did it go? Everyone's expression changed. They fought so hard to get here, thinking that there would be countless treasures waving at them. Who would have thought that it would be such a desolate scene? Yi Baifeng's tone was gloomy. Don't be discouraged, search. Everyone used their spiritual sense to scan the area, not leaving a single corner untouched. In a short while, the entire palace was searched inside and out. They even dug up the floor tiles, but not a single spiritual stone was found, not to mention the treasury. Then, a cultivator found a few footprints on the stairs of the palace. This meant that someone had been here before. The treasury had been taken by someone else. This made Yi Baifeng furious. He worked so hard to get here, and for the sake of the treasury, he even used the treasure his father gave him. But now he didn't even have a single strand of hair. Who is it? Yi Baifeng was practically roaring out loud. He thought of something, and took out a white crystal from his universe ring, his eyes carrying the last bit of hope. This is a backtrack stone. It contains a trace of the Tao of time. It can turn back time and capture images of recent events in a place. This was a treasure that Yi Baifeng obtained during his early years of training. It had been in his possession for a long time, but he had never used it. At this time, he could only hope that this item could help him. He tossed the backtrack stone into the air, and rays of mysterious lights flashed before a few images appeared in the air. In the images, there was a man and a woman. The man was extremely handsome, like an immortal, while the woman had long silver hair and a peerless face. The images showed that it was these two who took away the treasures. Look, could that be the primordial purple haze? Suddenly, a cultivator exclaimed. In the images, Chu Kuangren opened the wooden box, and within it was a purple haze. It was the primordial purple haze, the foundation of becoming a sage. Who are these two? Go and find them. We must find them, take back the treasures, and take back the primordial purple haze. Chapter 33. The Lesser Realm is starting to collapse. Chu Kuangren suddenly sensed a spatial anomaly. Let's go, the seventh forefather suddenly said. Even he did not dare to underestimate the power of the Lesser Realm's collapse. Chu Kuangren did not dare to delay any longer. He quickly left the Lesser Realm with Lan Yu and headed in a certain direction once they arrived in the outside world. The others who escaped from the Lesser Realm did the same. Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu arrived at a place a few kilometers away from Honorable Yuan Ling's treasury. From afar, they could see the golden door beginning to shatter, and the surrounding space also began to crack like a spider web. A terrifying force began to brew, and the surrounding forest began to distort under this force as it continuously flowed towards the door. Then, the door was instantly shattered, forming a miniature black hole. The black hole was only the size of a fist, but the terrifying force that erupted from it made everyone's scalp tingle. The entire Lesser Realm and everything within a 10-kilometer radius was sucked into the black hole, disintegrating into countless particles and turning into nothingness. Finally, the black hole disappeared. A gigantic crater formed within a 10-kilometer radius. A sense of death still lingered in the air. All the cultivators who witnessed the Lesser Realm's collapse felt an indescribable shock. In the face of such power, they were too insignificant. Chu Kuangren took a deep breath. How terrifying! Although he was a little scared, overall, he was very satisfied with this treasure hunt as he had obtained quite a lot of good stuff. The primordial purple haze alone made this trip worthwhile. However, compared to him, the other cultivators were not so lucky. F***CK. I almost lost my life instead of getting anything. D***MN. What a waste of a trip. Who the hell obtained Yuan Ling's treasury in the end? Humph. Speaking of which, it's still unknown how this Yuan Ling's treasury appeared. Could it be someone else's plot? If that's the case, the mastermind behind this is too vicious. He destroyed the Lesser Realm and tried to kill us all. I better not find out who did it. Some were regretful, some were angry, and some were conspiratorial. As the instigator of this incident, Chu Kuangren said nothing, afraid that others would see through him. He brought Lan Yu with him and was about to leave this place. "Fellow Taoist, please wait." At that moment, a voice rang out. A young man in a white robe appeared in front of Chu Kuangren and his companion. The young man had a handsome face and was one of the most handsome men around. Unfortunately, compared to Chu Kuangren, he was at least 2 levels lower. The young man was also incomparably stunning. He had never thought that there would be a man in this world who was even more handsome than him. It was simply inconceivable. "I am the young master of the White Jade Tower, Li Xingchen. I see that the two of you look extraordinary, so I would like to befriend you," Li Xingchen said. His words had attracted the attention of many people around him. They looked at Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu in shock. The two of them look extraordinary. This is especially so for that man. There's a faintly discernible aura of the Tao on him. He's like a banished immortal. There's actually such a man in this world. That's Li Xingchen from the White Jade Tower. Rumor has it that he's the most handsome man in White Cloud City. It's best to make friends with good-looking people. No wonder he sought out these two. These two fellows are extraordinary. I wonder if they are disciples from some orthodoxy who have come out to train. If there is a need, I can make friends with them. Chu Kuangren, on the other hand, looked at Li Xingchen in surprise. He had also heard the discussions around him. Making friends with good-looking people the most? This Li Xingchen was a person who valued appearances. "My name is Chu Kuangren. Greetings, Brother Li." "Oh, it's Brother Chu. My apologies for not recognizing." Before Li Xingchen could finish his sentence, his face suddenly froze. What did he just hear? Chu Kuangren? The Chu Kuangren who had declared war on the world. "Brother Li, what's wrong?" Chu Kuangren looked at Li Xingchen in confusion. At that moment, he was still clueless about the impact of the words he had said when he entered the realm. "Wait, something's not right. There's killing intent." Chu Kuangren's expression changed slightly as he looked around cautiously. When the surrounding cultivators heard his name, they all looked at him with hostility. This was especially so for a few young cultivators. There was even a hint of eagerness in their eyes. "Master, something doesn't feel right." Lan Yu was also on guard. "I see it too." Chu Kuangren nodded. At that moment, a young cultivator dressed in black suddenly stood out and stared at Chu Kuangren coldly. "You're the Chu Kuangren who declared war on the world, the elder senior brother of the Black Heaven sect?" Chu Kuangren was even more confused. "I'm indeed the elder senior brother of the Black Heaven sect, but I think you've misunderstood something. When did I declare war on the world?" Please, he had just entered the realm. Declare war on the world. He did not have the ability to do so. He was just a small nascent soul cultivator. "Before I entered the realm, flowers bloomed all over the world. Now that I've entered the realm, I'll be the only one." "You're the one who said that," the black-robed cultivator said coldly. "That's right, I did say that." "Wait." Chu Kuangren seemed to have understood something. Did these people take his words as a declaration of war? What kind of joke was that? He just said it in a moment of excitement. At that time, there were so many disciples and elders who came to send him off. He had to say something to show off his status as the elder senior brother. It had only been a few days, and the news had already spread? "Since you said it, then it'll be easy. Today, I'll see for myself how you can stand out." The black-robed cultivator snorted coldly and activated his spiritual power. The spiritual chi in the void boiled and condensed into a giant black palm. It slammed towards Chu Kuangren with a majestic force. Supreme technique, heaven-shrouding palm. The black palm covered the sky. Before Chu Kuangren could make a move, Lan Yu, who was beside him, snorted coldly and punched out. A beam of light exploded, piercing through the black palm and hitting the black-robed cultivator's body. The impact sent him flying and spitting out blood. The power of that punch shocked everyone. Lan Yu looked around coldly. "You want to challenge my master? You're not fit to do so." Chu Kuangren blinked. Why did he feel that Lan Yu's words not only protected him, but also brought him a wave of hatred? Sure enough, Everyone looked at Chu Kuangren with even more hostility. Chu Kuangren, you're crazy. Even a servant girl is so arrogant. You can imagine how arrogant Chu Kuangren is. No wonder he declared war on the world. The black-robed cultivator who was sent flying by Lan Yu's punch was shocked. He stared at Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu in disbelief. One punch? I can't even block one punch from his servant girl. How strong is Chu Kuangren? I'm afraid I'm not even an ant in his eyes. Thinking of this, the black-robed cultivator could not help but feel disheartened. At that moment, Chu Kuangren glanced at him. Perhaps it was because of the first impression. The black-robed cultivator felt that Chu Kuangren's gaze was full of indifference. To be more precise, it was more like he was ignoring him. Sure enough, Chu Kuangren only glanced at him once before looking away. Perhaps he just happened to pass by unintentionally. The black-robed cultivator could not help but feel sad. I've been cultivating hard for decades. I thought I was one of the best among the younger generation, but I'm not even an ant in your eyes. Chu Kuangren, what a madman. I've lost today. Chapter 34. That black-robed cultivator is a Taoist from the Iron Mountain sect. No matter what, the Iron Mountain sect is still an honorable orthodoxy. Yet now, our Taoist disciple can't even take a single punch from one of Chu Kuangren's servant girls. Look at him. I'm afraid his Taoist core has collapsed. There's no place for him in this era of great battles, let alone the Emperor's path. Chu Kuangren really is a madman. A Taoist challenged him, but he ignored him. Just a maid was enough to crush his Taoist core. What a sinister person. The crowd discussed among themselves. They looked at Chu Kuangren with fear in their eyes. Even Chu Kuangren was dumbfounded. He had only taken a glance at his opponent to make sure he was not dead. How did his opponent's Taoist core collapse and leave the arena in the blink of an eye? Humph, that Iron Mountain sect trash is useless. Let us, the Snow Dragon Trio, teach Chu Kuangren a lesson. At that moment, another 3 people walked out. All 3 of them wore white Taoist robes and held supreme weapons in their hands. Chu Kuangren raised an eyebrow. Was there an end to this? Did they really think that he was a clay figurine without any anger? Chu Kuangren reached out to stop Lan Yu, who was about to attack. Lan Yu, I'm the one they want to challenge. Let me handle this. Master, they're just 3 pieces of trash. Let me handle this. Lan Yu said bluntly. The faces of the 3 heroes of the Snow Dragon clan twitched in anger. B*TCH. Who are you calling trash? Humph. A lowly maid dares to spout nonsense. Do you think you can ignore us just because you defeated a piece of trash? You must be dreaming. The Snow Dragon Trio cursed. Chu Kuangren's eyes flashed coldly when he heard that. He had never scolded Lan Yu before, yet these 3 pieces of trash dared to spout nonsense. It was unforgivable. Chu Kuangren was really angry now. Protecting the environment is everyone's responsibility. I'm more than happy to clean up trash. Chu Kuangren said calmly and took a step forward. B****. I'll let you know who the real trash is. Humph. The Snow Dragon Trio quickly made their moves. An almost identical Taoist rhyme emanated from the 3 of them. A large amount of spiritual power filled the void and shrouded the area. In an instant, the world changed. The temperature of the air plummeted, and large snowflakes began to fall from the sky. A cold chill swept across like a knife. This is the ice frost formation that the 3 of us have joined hands to cast. Even if you are an insightful emptiness realm cultivator, it will be difficult for you to escape from this formation. The eldest of the 3 heroes of the Snow Dragon clan said with a proud smile. Since they had just come to challenge Chu Kuangren, they naturally had some confidence in themselves. Not only were their cultivation levels not weak, but the formation that the 3 of them cast together was also incredibly powerful. Among the younger generation, there were not many who could break it. Chu Kuangren reached out and pinched a snowflake. The snowflakes were like knives. They cut his fingers and left a bloody mark. But the immortal body was effective, and the wound healed in an instant. I'm a little curious. Why do you guys want to challenge me? Is it just because of what I said before I entered the realm? Chu Kuangren asked. The second of the 3 heroes of the Snow Dragon clan sneered. Your words have spread throughout the world. Now that Wuxia was defeated by you, all the heavens chosen see you as a thorn in their side. Who doesn't want to defeat you? As long as we defeat you, our names will spread throughout the world. Which young man did not love fame? The Snow Dragon clan was no exception. And the best way to become famous was to step on others. Just like how Chu Kuangren could only become famous after defeating Wuxia. Otherwise, his words would not have been able to cause any waves. It was because he was famous that his words carried weight. Now, the Snow Dragon clan planned to step on Chu Kuangren to become famous. I see. Chu Kuangren nodded. Then die. The Snow Dragon clan roared in unison. Within the formation, the power of the blizzard suddenly intensified. Snowflakes wrapped in a violent gale swept towards Chu Kuangren. The snowflakes were as sharp as knives, and an incomparably cold chill surged from all directions. At that moment, Chu Kuangren's eyes narrowed. 9 Heaven Sword Prison. He let out a soft roar. Surges of sword chi gushed out of his body. The sky was filled with snowflakes, and a moment of silence. The so-called Great Ice Formation was easily torn apart like a thin layer of gauze under the never-ending sword chi that was like a gale. Endless sword chi intertwined, and the 12 sword chi pillars sealed off all directions, forming a prison-like sword chi domain. How is this possible? What the hell is going on? Our formation was broken in an instant. The Snow Dragon clan's faces instantly turned pale. They knew that Chu Kuangren was very powerful, and they were no match for him alone. Otherwise, he would not have been able to defeat Wuxia. That was why the 3 of them teamed up. Together with the formation, they thought that they could fight Chu Kuangren. They even thought that they could defeat Chu Kuangren. However, they did not expect to be wrong. Very wrong. In just an instant, the formation was broken, and they were trapped in Chu Kuangren's Taoist physique transformation. They were like fish on the chopping block. Trash. Chu Kuangren said calmly. Then he clenched his fist. The sword chi in the sword chi domain rushed towards the 3 of them. Their screams echoed in the air. In the blink of an eye, the Snow Dragon clan's bodies were pierced by dozens of sword chi. Their golden cores were shattered, their nascent souls were destroyed, and their vitality was gone. The 3 of them fell to the ground like a bloody cloth. The 3 of them were only at the level of an ordinary nascent soul realm cultivator. Even if they joined forces to cast the formation, they could only fight against an ordinary paradise realm cultivator. Even Wuxia could deal with them easily. Not to mention Chu Kuangren, who had defeated Wuxia with a single sword strike. He only needed to cast 1 Taoist physique transformation. No! A heart-wrenching scream came from the void. An old man rushed out and looked at the fallen Snow Dragon clan members with bloodshot eyes. He was the Snow Dragon clan's Taoist protector. When Chu Kuangren cast the 9 Heaven Sword Prison, he had wanted to save them. However, he did not expect Chu Kuangren to act so quickly. He did not even have a chance to react, and the Snow Dragon clan members died in the blink of an eye. Chu Kuangren, I want you dead. The old man was enraged, and his terrifying battle monarch aura instantly erupted. However, at that moment, a soft grunt echoed in the void. The old man's body exploded in the void, turning into a cloud of blood mist. Everyone's faces turned pale at the sight. A battle monarch did not even last a second before he exploded into a cloud of blood mist with a grunt. What a terrifying power. Honorable, it's an honorable, and it's very likely an honorable. Legend has it that Chu Kuangren has a supreme Taoist physique. How could the Black Heaven sect not arrange a Taoist protector for him when he travels outside? This Taoist protector is definitely an honorable. At that moment, some people with ill intentions immediately gave up on the idea. Other than the strength that Chu Kuangren had displayed, they were more afraid of the honorable protector behind him. Chu Kuangren retracted his sword chi, looked around, and said calmly, "If anyone else wants to challenge me, I'll gladly oblige. However, let me give you a piece of advice. Don't make a mistake." Chu Kuangren had killed the Snow Dragon clan today not only because they had insulted Lan Yu, but also to make an example out of them. Otherwise, if people came to challenge him every day, how could he live his life? You're tuning in to the Legend of the Vagabond YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.